नमस्कार शर्मा साहब। नमस्कार।
सर नमस्कार नमस्कार।
Welcome, Professor Govindam Mathandan, sir, from Malaysia.
Yes, sir.
Good afternoon.
कल तो
क्लास को टाइम हो गया। खाओगे क्लास
थोड़ी सी खिचड़ी बना ली अरे क्या आवाज को नहीं।
Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
Good evening, all of you. How are you all?
Good evening, everyone.
कम्युनिटी 80 समझने के लिए मेरे भी 67 आ रहा है 68
Good evening, everyone. A very good evening to our Honorable Chief Guest, Professor Manmohan Prasad Gupta, sir, from IIT Delhi. Sir, I seek your permission to start the webinar officially. It's 6 o'clock, sir.
Yeah, you can start, please.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We, Guru Gobind Singh Indraprasth University, New Delhi, and Dr. CBS Cyber Security Services LLP India welcome all the dignitaries, resource persons, and most importantly, the exceptionally qualified gathering of participants. We welcome you all to the second day of 2 days international webinar on online education issues and challenges. It is an honor to me to introduce the guests at the center stage. Honorable Chief Guest, Professor M.P. Gupta Sir, Dhananjay Chair Professor, IIT Delhi. Honorable Chief Patron of the webinar, Padma Shri Awardee,
కెమెరా ఆన్ అయింది ఎందుకు
V.C. Roy Awardee.
అసలు ఇది వస్తలేదు ఏమో మెసేజ్ వచ్చింది
Honorable Vice Chancellor of Indraprasth
అది కాదు
Professor Mahesh Verma Sir,
ఇట్లున్నదిగా
Chairman, Patron, and eminent speaker, Dr. C.B. Sharma Sir, CEO, Dr. CBS Cyber Security Services, President, Professor Sanjeev Mittal Sir, Director, Academic Affairs, Guru Gobind Singh Indraprasth University, Delhi. Eminent speakers of the day, Dr. Rebecca Dingus from Central Michigan University, USA, Professor Govindan Marthandan from Multimedia University, Malaysia, and Professor Kolawole Subair from Yusuf Maitama Sule State University, Nigeria. To start with, we are going to listen to the main motivational force behind this entire international webinar, Director Swati Vashisht ma'am, who is an eminent researcher, distinguished scholar, and a young computer scientist. I now invite her for the welcome address.
A very good evening, Honorable Chief Guest, Professor M.P. Gupta sir from IIT Delhi, Honorable Chief Patron of the webinar and Vice Chancellor of Guru Gobind Singh Indraprasth University, Delhi, Professor Mahesh Verma sir, Chairman, Patron and eminent speaker, Dr. C.B. Sharma sir, CEO, Dr. CBS Cybersecurity Services, India, President Professor Sanjeev Mittal sir from GGSIP University, Delhi, our eminent speaker, Dr. Rebecca Dingus from Central Michigan University, US, Professor Govindan Marthandan from Multimedia University, Malaysia, Professor Kolawole Subair from Yusuf Maitama Sule University, Nigeria, Honorable Chief Guest for the first day, Professor P.K. Singh from IIM Indore, presently Director MDI Gurgaon, eminent speakers for first day, Professor K.A. Goyal sir from India, Professor Nafis Alam sir from Malaysia, and Dr. Max Dolinsky from United States of America. Advisor Dr. Ritesh Gupta sir, Chief Coordinator Social Media Dr. Ramesh Kumar Rawat. Ladies and gentlemen, I, Swati Vashisht, Webinar Director, find it a great pleasure and honor to welcome you all to the two-day international webinar in the academic auspices of Guru Gobind Singh Indraprasth University, Delhi, and organized by Dr. CBS Cybersecurity Services, India, on the topic Online Education Issues and Challenges. The current wave of online education is taking place precisely because it is part of the beginning of the era of the knowledge-based economy and society, in which knowledge is the only meaningful factor of production, and other factors are secondary and can be obtained easily. Online skill acquisition definitely impacts several sectors of the economy. The entry to knowledge-based economy and society will be successful if we create a platform of building absorptive capacity, which is ready to assimilate and apply new knowledge. To achieve this goal, suitable intellectual property right regime is a necessary enabling environment for entering the knowledge-based economy and society. Conceptually, online education is meant to provide incentives for inventors and innovation. In reference to the ethical controversy regarding the position of students, teachers, and parents, it is a legitimate question regarding possible welfare and economic impacts of online education on developing countries today. Striking the right balance is a central policy issue and certainly not an easy task. Therefore, this webinar is held for the purpose of sharing our experiences in designing and implementing suitable online education system among very important issue. Although suitable online education system for each individual country can and should vary according to the level of economic development, areas of competitive strength, historical development, and institutional setting, there is still an ample room for cooperation at the regional level. Last but not the least, I would like to express my heartfelt gratitude to all of you who have sincerely committed to this event to make it a success. This event would have been impossible without the support of each and everyone present here. I hope you find this webinar highly engaging, fruitful, and beneficial for your future endeavors. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Swati Vashisht, for your words. Today's expert addresses will be delivered by four stalwarts, each from India, United States of America, Malaysia, and Nigeria. As our first eminent speaker of the day, we have the honor of President's Police Medal awardee for outstanding services and for C.B. Sharma sir. He has been a very decorated Indian Police Service officer and is a highly demanded professional in the field of cyber security for corporate. Dr. C.B. Sharma sir will be deliberating on cyber security and online education. I invite Dr. C.B. Sharma sir for his presentation. Sir, I request you to kindly unmute. Dr. C.B. Sharma sir, kindly unmute.
Om Sahna Bhavatu Sahno Bhunaktu Sah Viryam Karvavahe Tejasvinavaditamastu Ma Vidvisavahe. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. I pray to the Almighty God, may the knowledge shared in today's webinar be sharp and brilliant, and there be no animosity in both of us, the participants online in the webinar and me, the speaker. I also pay homage to my father, late Pandit Badri Prasad Ji Maharshi, and my mother, late Srimati Suha Devi Maharshi, to bless us. Dear academicians, other dignitaries, and invitees online, a very good evening to all of you. Yesterday evening, we had a wonderful session in which our chief guest, Professor P.K. Singh, gave TSR, which indicates T means technology. We must invest more in technology than as skill and the right attitude. Professor Krishna Avatar Goyal elaborately discussed about blended learning. Professor Nafis Alam focused on the positive role of social media in education, and Professor Max Dolansky stayed on the adaptability of change. During the question hour session, few pertinent questions. First, the age barrier to learn the new skills of cyber technology. Second, issue of proxy assignment. Third, the integrity of examinations. And fourth, probable misuse of social media platform came into discussion. And because of the time constraint, these were closed in ambiguity, as I think. The whole night, it was bubbling in my mind whether the technology can be learned and skill can be developed even after student life, or the research period is over, and what should be the optimum age of learning a discipline. Since the computer technology is a new discipline and fast developing technology, because of the high speed data processing performance, vast memory, fastest arithmetic calculation, and logic functions, computer is so common that everybody of all age, elected to technocrat, labor to CEO, class 4 to chief minister, everyone using this facility. Prior to 1990, the computer shared information through LAN only. But the revolution in the computer technology came in 1990, and the computer scientist Tim Berners-Lee invented WWW World Wide Web, which is also known in the name Internet. So when the Internet came, it was a revolution in the computer technology. So Internet, the information is shared throughout the world in no time. This computer technology and the Internet is so useful nowadays, nobody can think to live without computer and Internet. The cyber crimes are also increasing with the same speed. And the prevention of cybercrime is through awareness. There are only three things with how the cybercrime can be prevented: through awareness, reviewed procedure, and use of secure technology. This is the one. For the awareness, when we go to the schools in rural area, that is my experience, and the senior citizens clubs, the barrier which is perceived in is one, the language, and second, the technology. The question comes in mind whether the language, knowledge of technology, and age are real barriers. These three barriers which we perceive, the answer is no. As we know, there is no language of computer. The language is either 0, 1 or 0, 1 and 0. Only binary, it's binary. As regards technology, we see that the hackers are mostly dropouts, and the data encrypted by these dropout hackers in most of the cases, even the highest qualified, renowned technocrats are unable to decrypt these data. Third barrier perceived is age. It is presumed that with the advance of age, the organs of action and the organs of senses may be in a retarding motion, but the brain is richer with the age. Since the volume of information or knowledge increases with the age, if we keep all the garbage in, the search may be delayed, which is commonly misconceived as memory loss. But in the true sense, it is the richness of the knowledge and wisdom, which in my opinion is the right platform to learn this new technology of virtual reality. I can say with the certainty, with my own experience and observation, age is never a barrier to learn a new knowledge and skill. So let us all resolve that we can excel in the latest computer technology required for the online education. The question comes in mind, why all of a sudden we are that much concerned about the cybersecurity issue in the education? What is new which compels us to prioritize this issue? Dear participants, there is a paradigm shift. After COVID-19 pandemic, all the educational institutions are struggling hard to shift the classroom teaching to online distance learning. When I say struggling, I mean the institutions are not able to transfer the skills and knowledge to their students smoothly. The difficulties are much more. On one side, they miss face-to-face interactions, as we discussed yesterday. Lack of technical expertise, lack of computer resource facilities with the institutions, lack of computer or smartphone with the internet connectivity with the students, the right mindset required for online classes of students, parents, and guardians at home, teachers, and head of the institutions. These are the stakeholders. On the other hand, the cyber criminals take the advantage of vulnerability in the computer, smartphone, internet facilities, social media applications, banking applications, etc. used by the students, and similarly the vulnerabilities in the computer resource system, network facilities, video conferencing platforms, websites, web applications, etc. used by the institutions. During the last 2 to 3 months, the stakeholders of education who are on the online platform are facing disturbance in online classes. Since all the data of stakeholders is available on internet, anywhere, anytime, hackers have become extra active in committing cybercrime like email hacking, phishing, cyber defamation, cyber impersonation, denial of service attacks, spamming, website defacement, identity theft, data modification, trolling, cyber slurring, fake news, cyberbullying, cyber grooming, pornography, etc., etc. A good number of cyber offenses is there, which are being committed for the last 2-3 months. Every day we see in the news there is a drastic change, dramatic change, increase in the cybercrime. So the security of the person as well as the institutional information is the basic concern. Information, when prepared in a formalized manner, processed in the computer resource system, and stored in the memory of the computer is called data. In the computer system, we call data, it is the information. But when it is processed through the computer, then this information becomes the data. Since we know that in online education, all the personal information as well as the institutional information are prepared, processed, and stored in the computer resource system. So the information in online examination is in the form of data always. Now we come to the cyber security issues in e-education. What are the cyber security issues in e-education? The cyber security, what is it? It is the protection of information, the equipment, the devices, the computer resource, communication device, and information stored therein from unauthorized access, use, disclosure, disruption, modification, or destruction. Through the technologies, since it is the virtual reality, the cyber is a virtual reality. So it is protected through the technologies, the processes and practices, not in the physical form. To ensure, why do you want to protect the information? Just to ensure preservation of confidentiality, integrity, and availability. Now we come to the cyber security in online education. Basically, it has two components. It's the information available in the computer resource system. So in the online education system, it is basically the two components. The first component is the computer resources infrastructure, which includes computer, laptop, television set with DTH, cable TV connection, internet, network facility, secure video conferencing platform, or online education website and application, etc. at the institution level as well as the student's home place. And second, the stakeholders, which include the students, the teachers, school heads, parents, or guardian. Their mindset plays a very important role in resolving these issues and challenges of online education. Do you hear me? Yeah. Second is the logical cyber security. The cyber security of both the components means the stakeholders and the infrastructure. It is very important. The physical security for the stakeholders, the physical is a minimal issue. It has the minimal issues and challenges. So we may say practically we have no challenges at all as far as the physical security is concerned. The second is the logical security, and that is the logical cyber security, which is a new concept and a new phenomena. Cyber, the word cyber is a new thing. We know the computer application, all that, because it's a tangible thing. But cyber is intangible. So how to define cyber? So cyber is defined as the characteristic of computer, culture of computers, information technology, virtual reality, augmented reality, artificial intelligence and machine learning, encryption, dark web, cryptocurrency, etc. All these are in the definition of cyber. This is cyber. So we are all very well acquainted with the online education, but in the context of cyber security, the journey of online education starts with there are 6 things you can say. One is the online search for choice courses and respected credentialed institutions. Every student wants course of his choice and a respected credentialed institution. So where will he search? He will go to the website of various institutions. Second is the online admission process. Once he selects the online, then he goes for the online process. Third is the online learning, online classes. And then the online assignment and quiz. And fifth one is the online assessment. And sixth is the online evaluation. These are the 6 ingredients of online education. In the practical journey, actually what happens when students wants to select the course of his choice and a credentialed institution, he accesses the website of different institutions to select a respected and credentialed institute and also selects the coursework of his choice. In this process, the computer or smartphone with internet access of the student and the website of the institution must be properly secured. So this requires 2 things: the computer, smartphone and the internet access of the student should be secured, as well as the website of the institution should be secured. Otherwise, what will happen? The website, suppose the website is hacked, or defacement of the website, or email is hacked, or computer is hacked, or internet is hacked. These are the key issues and challenges in this process, in the second stage. Then after the selection of the institute and the coursework, the student submits all his credentials and personal information online through the computer resource and internet. All the personal data of the student are received, processed, stored in the memory of the computer resource of the institute. The privacy and confidentiality of the personal sensitive data stored in the memory of the computer resource of the institution is a big challenge. It's a big issue and big challenge. So, as per legal mandate of the sensitive personal data, what is the legal mandate? What is the sensitive personal data? So that is a legal mandate. And that is there in the Rule 3 of Information Technology, Reasonable Security Practices and Procedure, and Sensitive Personal Data or Information Rules 2011. May I request Sachin to show the PPT? Please flash the PPT. Yes, Rule 3. So, you see, as per the Rule 3 of the Information Technology, Reasonable Security Practice and Procedure and Sensitive Personal Data or Information Rule 2011, this is made under Section 43 of the Information Technology Act 2000. Well, I'm discussing this because it has got a legal mandate, the legal force behind it. The definition of the sensitive personal data includes financial information such as bank account, credit card, debit card, other payment instruments, biometric data, physical, physiological and mental health condition, medical record and history, sexual orientation, or any such information, trait, attribute, or any other identity of the person through which the person is directly or indirectly identified. Second, in the recently, year 2019, recent past, the government of India submitted a bill in the Lok Sabha regarding the protection of the personal data in the name Indian Personal Data Protection Bill 2019. There also it defines the personal data and sensitive personal data in a more exhaustive way than the earlier one defined under Rule 3 of the Rules 2011. And it includes, other than the ingredients of Rule 3, it also includes the official identifier, the genetic data, caste or tribe, political belief or affiliation, intersex status, transgender status, sex life, etc. All these are defined in the definition of personal sensitive data. The reason we are discussing these is that all these personal data of the student are collected by institution and kept in the computer resource of the system, which is connected to the internet. The definition of personal data is also defined in the GDPR, General Data Protection Regulation, that is passed by the European Union countries. So that is the international mandate. As per the Indian legal mandate, as well as the international legal mandate, right to privacy is a fundamental right, and it is protected as an intrinsic part of the right to life and personal liberty under Article 21 of the and as a part of the freedoms guaranteed under Part 3 of the Constitution of India, and it has been decided by Apex Court of India in Aadhaar case judgment. You must be knowing, everybody knows this. In the Aadhaar case, Apex Court, the Supreme Court gave the judgment, and the personal sensitive data or the personal data, privacy of the personal data is the fundamental right. The protection of data is also mandated by the General Data Protection Regulation. They are also passed in the Parliament that it is the fundamental right. It's the fundamental right. The protection of data is also mandated under Rule 8 of the Information Technology Reasonable Security Practices and Procedure. How to protect that? So there is a legal mandate. And that section, the Rule 8 says, the body, means the institute, shall have the information security policy, and the information access should be protected by having security controls of international standard such as ISO 27001, COBIT or ITIL or IT infrastructure. The institution shall regularly, once in a year, go for the cyber audit, means the vulnerability assessment, the penetration testing, exploitation of vulnerabilities, etc., etc. Means the audit is a mandatory part. You have to go for the audit every year. After that, when the process is over, the students joins the online classes. So during the admission, the personal data of the student are stored in the memory of the computer of the institution. And that becomes the legal duty, legal liability of the institution to protect the privacy of the data. Then the student joins the online classes or say online learning. The institution either collects the email ID of the student, or an email ID of each student is created by the institution collecting the personal data of the student. So the institute selects the suitable online video conferencing platform for online classes like Microsoft Teams, Google Meet, Google Hangouts, Cisco WebEx, Zoom, Skype, BlueJeans, or other like Zaber. There are so many platforms. Since all the personal data and credentials of the student, the important thing is that all the personal data and credentials of the students, teachers, institution, the content, the assignment, the examination details, the assessment report, all are open on the internet and accessible through the platform. So the video conferencing platform should be collected, selected with strong security feature. This is very important. The institutions sometimes become liberal and they say, what is their confidential? We share the content which is commonly available, which is taken from. No, it is not only the content. It is the personal sensitive data of the students also. And you are obliged to maintain the security of that data. Then the institute may provide mobile applications to access online courses. That is second thing. Or provide any broadcast channel like YouTube, Microsoft Teams, Facebook Live, etc. The computer or smartphone and the internet used by the student should also have strong security features. It is not only the liability of the institution or the duty of the institution. The student who is accessing the internet through his computer or smartphone, that should have the strong security features also. Then after that, the institute gives assignment and quizzes. Once the course starts, it gives quizzes, online modules. In addition to the security of computer, laptop, internet and video conferencing platform, a new challenge and issue comes, and that is the issue of proxy and plagiarism It's the proxy submission of the assignments as well as the plagiarism, as we discussed this question in the question answer session yesterday. To counter that issue related to the assignment evaluation, there is one solution. Teacher can promote share content facility of video conferencing application in which student will present his work amongst the group of students in a real-time scenario. That is how we can check that proxy. Students may present their assignments through PPT, notes, whiteboard facility available in the video conferencing application. To counter the second issue, that is relating to plagiarism, teachers can use plagiarism checkers online. As per the present legal mandate, plagiarism is a cognizable offense punishable with imprisonment, and there are innumerable cases where even the highest authority in the position were sent to jail. Previously, it was not the cognizable offense. Now, some of the PPTs which I am sharing with you on your screen, which are reported in the newspapers, usually there are 4 or 5 such PPTs. Sachin, next. Sachin, do you hear me?
Yes, sir.
You change the PPT, no? The one is the Rajasthan University, one is the from Delhi University, Ahmedabad. Is there some technical difficulty? Yes. The scientists caught in plagiarism row. This is Rajasthan University. One is from IIM Bangalore, topper gold medal, President Post. IIM Bangalore, topper gold medal. This is Pondicherry Vice Chancellor, plagiarism to academic fraud.
Answer.
One more, I think. Now, then it comes to examination. The institute will conduct online examination and online assessment. The online examination and assessment, the computer resource and internet are used, and if the computer resource or internet has the vulnerability in the system, the hackers can take unauthorized access into the system, and they may alter the data. They may change your whole system, whole result, and jeopardize the confidentiality and integrity of the institution by installing malicious virus or Trojan attack, rootkit or keylogger or any of the malice. A common cyber crime in such cases in the examination or the assessment of the result is the data decline. They change the data, they change the raw data, and once the result is out, then they again change the data, then it comes the original form. So you cannot detect whether it is, that is called the data diddling or data modification or data theft. That is committed by the cyber criminals in context to the examination system. To counter this, how to counter this? Because online examinations are going on and you can't stop it. In the coming days, all the examinations will be online. So counter this, the computer resource used the examination and assessment should be audited in advance for vulnerability assessment and penetration test. Whether there is any remote access, any vulnerability, somebody may access it remotely. So the penetration testing and the exploitation of vulnerability, etc. Then second thing, the most important thing is, Professor, the audit report should be documented. On that, the auditor did the audit report and said, yes, okay, sir, nothing is there. It should be audited, documented, and preserved with the head of the institution till all the issues related examination or assessment are resolved. Because there is some complaint, suppose something has happened, then you can re-audit and retrieve the data. You go back and a log will be generated. So you are able to pinpoint at what time, what application was installed in which computer and where it happened. So it is very essential to have the documented audit report preserved till every issue is over. To maintain the integrity of the examination, the institution can also adopt online proctor system like proctoring solution for online examination, which are used by some international examination bodies to conduct online examination anywhere in the world, anytime. You can see the PPT. It is there in the PPT. Throughout the process, the online education, right from selection of coursework to the final assessment, the sensitive personal data of the student, name, class, section, etc., all the status filing, even the PAN number of parents, the Aadhaar card of the student, parents, nationality, caste, creed, all these are taken by the institution. The sensitive personal data of every student are stored in there, and the physical, physiological, biometric data are also stored in the personal data. The personal data submitted for the creation of email are stored in the memory of the computer. Now, prior to COVID-19 pandemic, the online education was given a second standing. It was not given the preference in comparison to traditional education, the physical classrooms. Online courses and webinars were given a lower status while evaluating their profile. After COVID-19 pandemic, all the educational institutions, right from school education to university, technical, medical, professional education, all institutions are giving online education. And so the personal sensitive data of all the students and teachers are available on internet, which requires strong cybersecurity of the online education system. Now, studies conducted reveals how much data we are collecting from the students. You see the quantum. So the study conducted in India, there are about 17 lakh institutions. 17 lakh institutions and 28.73 crore students and 74.16 lakh teachers in educational institutions. And the global data as per UNESCO report, the total student population in the world is about 170 crore children are in school and university. We see the quantum of data available on the internet just because of the online education is so high that it requires a special attention to protect the data on the internet. Now, to provide cyber security to an educational institution, what should be done? Basically, it needs to protect the data. Where does this data exist? It exists either in the endpoint, the computer, desktop, laptop, the communication devices, smartphones, the network, maybe internet, intranet, LAN, WAN, Wi-Fi, hotspot, the processors, the servers, the firewall, switches, routers, the storage, server, hard disk, data centers, or the cloud, our communications, emails, website, application, video conferencing, platforms, webs, or mobiles. The second important thing is that cyber is a global phenomenon, and access into the cyberspace, also communicate with or instruct with the logical, arithmetic, and memory source functions of the computer system can be done from anywhere, anytime through internet. Hence, the cyber security should have the international standards and a uniform legal mandate as recommended by UN General Assembly Resolution 1997, looking to the global nature of cyber. The United Nations Commission on International Law adopted this model law in 85, and which was amended in 2006. The model law was adopted through the resolution passed by the General Assembly. So the whole thrust is upon the security of the information, security of the data, which is generated, produced, received, processed, transmitted, procured, stored in the computer system. The last question, that is the use of social media in online education. What Professor Nafis Ahmed yesterday dispensation, I fully endorse with a reservation, or you can say a suggestion, that the use of social media without proper knowledge and without precautionary measures and security protocols may prove very dangerous. So whenever a student or any user registers, I request, even if the faculty registers on the social media, he should very well know the precautionary measures, the security protocols, and should thoroughly inquire about the various parameters, functions, as to register other variables. The hacking of social media is always in the news. Daily we say the hacking is always in the news. So before joining the social media platform, please take due security measures, and whenever you use any of the computer resources, please know the vulnerability of your system. If your system is vulnerable, please take due precautions and patch the vulnerabilities before use. Otherwise, all your data are hacked. Second thing, very important, in the present time, most of the students are sharing the computer resource system of their parents or the brothers or the family members. So once they are sharing the computer resource, means the smartphone or the computer, so the data of the family member or the parents, that is also there, and that becomes equally vulnerable. So it is not only the content matter of the classroom, it contains so many data visible. So please give a special concern to this cyber security of your computer resources. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. C.V. Sharma, sir, for comprehensively covering the issue with your deep knowledge of the stream. Now, we are going to listen to eminent researcher, distinguished scholar, and a great teacher, Dr. Rebecca Dingus from Michigan. Presently, she is teaching as associate professor at Central Michigan University, United States of America. Dr. Rebecca Dingus will be deliberating on education as a process. I now invite her for her expert address.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for the invitation to be here. Oh, this is not this. 1 second while I get the correct slides. I apologize. I'm not sure what happened here. As we speak about teaching online and becoming vulnerable, to make sure we have the right tools going on and that we're able to communicate effectively, it is good that we have practiced with things such as if we're using Teams, right? All right, this is going to look better. So thank you again. And I really enjoyed, Dr. Sharma, getting to hear about your knowledge of cybersecurity and 6 components for online education. I hope to build into that. But as we talk about this, I want to think about education as a process from the perspective of a newer educator. So I have taught, I think I'm in my 12th year of teaching, my 7th year at Central Michigan University. And I look at how we can build these pieces from a marketer's point of view. So I teach in our marketing and sales programs within a college of business. And as we think about that, we think about how education has really evolved, but yet so much has remained the same. And so thinking about, a decade ago, I taught purely online at another university, but I taught online advertising and communications. And looking at that versus now, thinking about the changes we've had to technology, the availability of additional content available online that we can pull resources from, the way we can integrate tools together, it's a different game, right? And as many of us recognized when we, if you were in the case similar to where you were shifted from face-to-face to, a rapid pivot to remote learning due to COVID-19, it really, really changed how we could look at taking this class. And so I encourage us, though, as we're talking about online education, as we're talking about how to build this experience for our students, the big picture is still making sure that they learn whatever is our responsibility to be teaching them, right? In my case, it's introductory sales skills, it's communication, it's relationship building, and it's a whole era of professionalism along with that skill set. And so we take that, we help them learn how to do that in a way that builds into their future careers, while also helping them become more conscientious citizens, if we will, right? And how to understand the world around them. But we also need to be thinking about it not just related to content, but related to that user experience. And user experience is a big hot term right now, a buzzword to use. But what I hope to do in this presentation is to be able to provide a few pieces of how we can be more innovative in our teaching, some ideas of pieces that I've integrated that many of my colleagues have said, oh, wow, that was a neat thing. And so I'm not going to go super in depth on any one, but I'll go through some. And then if you have more questions about them, I know we'll have a Q&A later on that I'm happy to share more as it becomes relevant. But the role of educators, and especially online educators, has really shifted, right? So now we have to take this content, we understand what we're responsible for teaching, but we also have to think about the personality and how we're communicating with our students. We have to be adaptable to different things, especially in the age of COVID-19. As we're in this pandemic, what are these pivots we might need to take, whether that's just a mental state, whether that is, pivoting our entire course, whether that is saying, okay, all of a sudden, half of my students don't have great internet access. What can I do to still make this course accessible to them? How can I adapt? And it requires us to also interact with the students it's a blend of that more personal level, which if we're not careful can be harder to do online, would be a primary argument. But I think that if we're open-minded in our communication, if we're thinking about this user experience and we build specific pieces in to make connection points with our students, we're going to be able to provide them this really balanced experience where we're driving a learning experience for them as we help them understand how to navigate it, why it matters, why it's relevant, and where the pieces are all going to fit together. And if we can accomplish that, students are going to be very engaged and very excited to learn. And along the way, they're going to get course credit and a grade for that. So that's the perspective that I come from. I say, hey, don't reinvent the wheel, but do think about that journey. Think about that experience of how to create a learning-focused environment for the students. Because even in my own class, the sales class that I primarily teach, it's a class that has always been taught only face-to-face. And it's not easy to just take that and, pluck it into a little module online, right? So we're really thinking through what are the key learnings, what are the key outcomes, and then taking that backwards design approach to make sure that the course accomplishes those in a way that doesn't overcomplicate measures and in a way that really is strategic to help the students become engaged. So to kind of transition into some ideas that I use within this online environment as I'm teaching that way, one thing that I always am mindful with my students is thinking about how do we build ourselves up online? How are we presenting? How are we continuing to network? How do we continue to grow our presence in the business world, even from the online classroom? So I encourage my students to really dig into what their online presence looks like. And again, all of the cautionaries that you just heard from Dr. C.B. Sharma, I'm now saved from having to tell you. So obviously use discretion in teaching this, in presenting this, and as making students aware. But regardless of the course you teach, it's great for our students to be thinking about their personal brand, what they stand for, what they're known for, what makes them stand out, and what their competitive advantage is going to be when they get on the job market. So I have them really deeply think about that. Everything from the detail of what their resume looks like to the email signature at the bottom of each message they may be sending to recruiters or to alumni or anyone, just to help them get into practice of utilizing professionalism that way. I also, and again, I teach sales and marketing, so it's very relevant to my students. But again, any student, we should think about their presence on LinkedIn. I would argue that a bad LinkedIn presence is actually worse than no presence at all, right? Because it gives that negative image and you have no control over who's looking at it, what they're seeing, and how they're interpreting it. So put your best foot forward, your best face forward, also your best presence forward through LinkedIn that way. I'm happy to share more details of what that project looks like. There's also a research paper out that Howard Dover and Robert Peterson wrote that goes through a LinkedIn project that they've done. Another piece for students to practice, especially as we're in COVID-19, at least here in the States, many of our recruiters and our recruiting events, those connections are happening in an online virtual place, right? So all of our career fairs where traditionally we'd have 500 people in the same building for 4 hours. Nope, they are now online. So it's really important that students start to think about this presence, creating a video introduction of themselves, and they can upload that into YouTube with a private link that then they can share into different mediums as appropriate for their needs. Many of my friends are using Adobe products to help students, but also helping them to think about building out a personal website, an online portfolio, being judicious in what they want to present about themselves, but making that information available so that they have a link they can send to a recruiter, so that they have that presence, that if someone Googles or searches for their name online, what is seen is something that they've already put together in the way they want to be viewed. And that really can give them an edge. This is something that I know many students and programs will be focusing on in the coming year. So I think this is something, if you're not thinking about it now, get on that forefront so you're not a laggard in that process for the sake of your students and their online reputations. But all of this comes with the idea of being vulnerable, right? So we need to be mindful about the cybersecurity pieces. We also need to be thinking about how we're vulnerable in displaying ourselves, in promoting that brand. But it happens on both sides of the school or of the table, I would say. Vulnerability is something that we want to think about. And so being open to using new tools is going to be relevant. Some of the newer resources that I'm using, and to kind of give you an idea of what they are in case it's helpful for you, it may not directly relate, but there may be something similar in your field. But Padlet, if you're not familiar with Padlet, you just Google it. It's the Padlet.com. There's the free version that allows you to have 10 Padlets created. Paid account gives you more access, but these are essentially is like a pad of paper, and each student could take a page. It's all virtual, where they can integrate a video link, words. They could just write some text. They can put in a meme, and you can give a prompt, and people can interact with each other in a very student-friendly manner in live time. And so Padlet's a really neat resource you can integrate into many discussion boards within your learning management system. So that's a neat thing that students really seem to be engaging well with, that bridges a bigger discussion. Additionally, thinking about being an encourager as an educator and keeping students motivated even in this online format. A newer piece thinking about the idea behind gamification would be the idea of implementing badges or certificates for completion of different modules or whatever the bigger stepping stones of your course would be. So once a student has completed maybe 3 projects in a particular area, they earn a badge. And then that displays on their profile within the learning management system. So it's only seen by them, the professor, and the other students, but it gives them some sort of motivation to feel rewarded by. Similarly, you can do the old-fashioned version of this of, shout outs when people do something noteworthy, whether that's an exceptional example in class you want to be able to use, a project that gets turned in and you ask permission to share it with the other students, or simply a great interaction on behalf of the class. But this is keep students engaged and try to think about shout outs or badges that over time many students can be earning. So it's not, 3 or 5 key students that are getting it every time. The badges are within the learning management system. Just Google that if you don't know how to find them in your own. They're super easy to create and customize. Another piece, utilizing tools that are already out there that companies are using every day, we can introduce our students to. In one of my classes, I like to focus on sales technology. We go through different sales stacks. But to introduce artificial intelligence, I've been using the IBM Watson Tone Analyzer tool. If you're not familiar with it, I made a short bit.ly so you could check it out. But I give them a prompt and have them do a written assignment where they're looking at different tones. And this is something you could adapt into nearly any course, just a short little assignment, but it helps them start to think about artificial intelligence and how this machine is, right? How these words are being read, interpreted, how do we communicate that? And also thinking about the marketing side of that, thinking about it from different perspectives, whether it's a consumer, a company, a coworker, you can create prompts that way. That really, my students last semester loved getting to use Tone Analyzer, and several of them now are using it within internal memos that they're writing within their internships over the summer. So it's cool to see it go beyond the classroom, and it's a tool that's readily available. Another piece that I'm using, and this is probably more limited to anyone who's in the business or communications or sales kind of field, but it's called Rainmakers. And so it's, if you take out the vowels, you have RNMKRS if you want to find it online. But it's a virtual sales competition. Again, helping students become familiar with technology. In this case, they download an app and they interact with the app. And on the app is a bot. So they literally sell to a bot. There's a case study that they learn. There are training videos that they watch. The competition is sponsored by Dell. And they can log into their app and practice 24/7. 3 a.m., they're just thinking about their homework. They can get on their phone, in the app, and they can practice role-playing a sales call with a bot. It'll give them feedback in real time about how they overcame objections, whether or not their words were clear. It talks about the percentage of time that they were listening versus speaking. It gives them really neat metrics about their communication. And so that's something they can practice with anytime. But then in November, I believe it's the 18th and 19th of November, there are 2 days when they can log onto their app, and it's a competition across the globe of students. And alongside, on the flip side of that, it's really neat for networking, because all of the sponsoring companies, so Dell is the leading sponsor, but there are many other organizations that are participating in it, so that their recruiters will have access to watch the sales role plays that those students are doing and get a feel for who they would want to have conversations with about hiring. So it's very much a win-win for getting experience, but also getting seen for students who may be looking for roles in that. So Rainmakers, I was involved with it the last 2 iterations of the competition. It's a really, really neat piece. Jumping back into this idea of vulnerability, though, as a professor, it's easy to get stuck in our ways. I can be stubborn and stuck, but as I thought about how to reimagine my course this past spring, I had several students who did not have solid internet access, and recording a role play would be very difficult. So something we typically have, this image you see that looks like an office setup, that is a lab in my college where my students go in and face-to-face, they have a sales call and they have a case study that they've learned, they have a scenario, and they go in and they call on this fictitious buyer. And it's all video recorded, there are mics in the room, and they get to watch their recording and analyze themselves. I originally thought, okay, well, I'll just have them do a virtual call, which is what every salesperson is doing right now in COVID-19. But then I didn't have many students who were able to, just the technology wasn't working for them to have enough bandwidth to either host a WebEx meeting with somebody. We ran into lots of technology complications. And my solution I came up with was that I did the role play. So I coordinated with another professor, and we did 4 different WebExes where we did the same sales call 4 different times. But in each one, he, as the buyer, played a different personality, if you will. And then as a salesperson, I did some things really, really well in each call, and I did some things really, really poorly in each call. And along the way, I made accidental mistakes, but they just fell into that really poorly piece, right? But so my students have learned about me. They've gotten to know my personality. Now they see me in this sales role. What I learned in the past, they would have done this call themselves. What I learned, though, is that analyzing my actions, assessing my performance, critiquing what I did, giving coaching tips for me to have done it better and what I did well, those pieces, when they went through 4 different video calls of that, they learned so much. And I think their eyes were actually open to where when they do go make that call, they're going to do it so much better because they've seen a lot of examples of what to do and what not to do. The reports that they wrote for these showed a much richer learning experience than I ever could have imagined. So, I think be vulnerable to the change and be vulnerable to trying new ideas. I had a couple of students who worked with me on designing this assignment when I had to make the change, and students come up with the best of ideas. As I rethought exams, so thinking about some of the issues that Dr. Sharma was mentioning related to online exams and those challenges, I decided to take a different approach to my final exam in the spring. And so I thought, let's not make it punitive. Maybe they dropped off. They didn't learn as much. Let's encourage learning to happen now rather than never at all, right? So what I did for my final exam was I offered the same exam in 3 different formats. They could have a traditional written exam, like where they wrote an essay following a certain prompt where they were asked to interrelate. I had 12 key course components, and they had to create a diagram of how they fit together and also write about it. It was a lot of reading for the grading portion, but it was really rewarding because I could tell that if they hadn't known what that word meant, they had learned it in the process of writing this exam. So they couldn't work together, but they could use their notes. They could use their book. I made it an open resource exam, and they did an amazing job on that. But if they didn't want a written exam, I allowed them to choose the format that helps them express themselves the best. So if they were more creatively minded, I allowed them to create an infographic that would explain. They had to get their topics approved by me, but then roughly like 15% of the course material into an infographic or into a 15 to 20 minute podcast. And they had a blast. And I'll tell you, they were so fun to grade because you could tell the students had really chosen the format that fit them the best, and they had learned immensely. Feedback from students on that was very high, and their comments also were that they spent a lot more time on it because they dug deeply into the material. So I believe that the finished product really created an environment where they were able to learn more than we would have ever dreamed. A couple of things I'm working on for this spring that I did not do in the past, but for my online course this year. One is building out a reverse career fair. So I have recruiters and speakers who come and engage with my students frequently. This fall, I'll be organizing an online opportunity for my students to show off their digital presence. So once they've completed these assignments where they've made a video about themselves, they've hopefully made a website or online portfolio, we will have a formal time when we have recruiters logging on and interacting with them to help them build those virtual networking skills and also to get seen that way. So I say reverse career fair because in this case, if you think of a traditional career fair set up like a trade show where you have your recruiters at every booth and the students walk through, in this case, the students are presenting and the recruiters are the ones walking through, asking questions and getting to enhance that dialogue. The other idea that I'm pursuing right now is I'm prepping content. We're always making our own videos of content, sharing YouTubes and TED Talks and other things that relate the content to the learning objectives for the week. But something that I'm building out now is a podcast that I'm doing with alumni from my program. And I use the word podcast probably a little too freely. There aren't technical podcasts that are going to be distributed widely at this point, but looking at essentially a video chat where I'm recording it with a past alum or a past grad from our program. So relating that week's topics to their day-to-day in their job, giving it a relevance to the real world, but also giving a face that my students can then go connect with, whether that's through LinkedIn, through email, or something afterwards. That's something that can be adapted to any program. Doesn't have to be sales, doesn't have to be marketing. So I hope these are some ideas that have helped you just maybe think, oh, what can I do as that next step for engagement with my students? The other piece I will mention I've done in the past, if your school uses Microsoft, the Microsoft suite of products, you have access to a tool called Yammer. And Yammer is a really neat organization-wide sort of social media that I've used before with my students. It's set up almost exactly like Facebook. So they're very familiar with how to use it for reminders and to build out dialogue. Just an idea to throw out if you're looking for another tool. But with that, I am officially out of time. I'm at 22:02. So let me know if you do have any questions when we get into that Q&A section, or look me up on LinkedIn. And I thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Rebecca Dingus, ma'am, for enlightening us through your deep knowledge of the stream from international perspective. Indeed, it was a wonderful experience. Now, we are going to listen to best-in-class academician in the field of quality management education, Professor Govindan Marthandan from Selangor. He is an academician, very highly valued by students. Presently, he is a senior professor at Multimedia University of Malaysia. Professor Govindan Marthandan will be deliberating on engaging online learners. I now invite him for his address.
Can you see my screen, Professor?
Yes, sir. It is visible, sir.
So, thank you, the professors and respected learners from Govind University and the Data Security Services Organization, and all the organizers, and especially Professor Krishnan Goyal, who introduced me to this international seminar. So, yesterday, when Professor Pawan Kumar Singh started, he gave an introduction this online education. He said that online is going to stay. It is not that we have online up to COVID. Once the COVID is gone, and we will be back to face-to-face. No, it's going to stay on. And he also said we need the skill set for the facilitators or the lecturers. And then while concluding, Professor Sanjeev Mittal said, not all the universities are allowed to run online programs, and as well as not all the programs are to be offered on the online mode. But anyway, I'm personally of the opinion that online is going to stay. So online has come not after the COVID-19, it has come before the COVID-19. It is there for many years. So most of the universities are going for online, and we are also in the process of moving towards that. maybe it's a matter of years. So before India also adopts this online education, in addition to face-to-face. We not do away with the face-to-face. It will be there, but most of the programs will be online. So when we go for online, so there are so many challenges. Yesterday also, so many professors were talking about the challenges that they are facing in online education. So one of them is engaging the learners. Now, my presentation is towards that. So previously we used to have the students going to the teacher's house, and then students and then teachers came to the university or college. Now we can see the students in this. Now we can see online education. We can't see who is in front of us. We can just see a screen. So even we can't see the name. We can see just the letter. So now we are moving towards teacher-centric education to student-centric education. Now, in addition to that, yesterday when Professor Ram was also telling that we are not asking the students to come to the online platform, teaching platform. Now we go to the online platform where they are, like social media, like Facebook, all that. Wherever the student is there, the lecturer is going there and they're teaching. So that is the order of the day now. So now there are certain characteristics for the online classrooms. It is also same as our face-to-face classrooms, and there will not be any compromise on delivering the effective classes. But it is different from teaching in the classroom, because in front of us there will not be anybody in the classroom. And what is challenging part in is, so now we are talking about the students part of it, but we forget it is the skill set required for the online instructors. Now we have to provide the attention to the quality of instructors, as we also take care of the technology that we adopt. So now it is the mandatory for the instructors or the lecturers, whatever we call. So instead of just teaching, so they should become the facilitators in the online environment. So we should make the students to work, to learn, but we have to become the facilitators of this. Now, to make a effective facilitators, so what are the 7 characteristics? There are, some people say there are 5 characteristics, some people say 15 characteristics, some people say 7, but these are all the most effective characteristics that we have. One is the content knowledge, so which is the activities based on the higher learnings on the Bloom's taxonomy. We have the digital literacy, so we have to use the digital media in order to make the students engage in our classroom. So for that, we may go in for a customized toolbox also. Some of them, Rebecca was also sharing with us. And not only the creating the toolbox, but it should also be used at the appropriate time. Then we have to blend the pedagogy, technology, and the content. So it is the right mixture of it, make the students engage in our class. Then effective time management. Some of the classes are 1 hour durations, ranging to even 6 hours a day or 8 hours a day classrooms. Continuously 3 days, 5 days, 6 days classes are there. Our trainings are also there. Some of the training programs are for 6 days, 5 days training whole day. So in all these things, now we are going for virtual teaching or online teaching. So monitoring the activities, monitoring the delivery of the lectures is very, very important. Then for most important is establishing the virtual presence of the lecturers. So the classroom can be a synchronous mode or asynchronous mode. It can be there. In both the cases, so the lecturer should be available all the time. That is what the student expect. And so he has to be there. Whenever the student gets it out, he has to be there. And the communication part, yes, the lecturer should be, or the facilitator should be effective communicator, both in oral and as well as written. Last but not least is the managing the diverse learners. Some are A-class students, some are just for the sake of coming to the university, they are coming to the university. So managing them in the virtual environment is really a challenging job. And engaging them to be attentive to the class for the entire period is there. So how do we integrate the curriculum with the 3 domains that we have? So we all know that we have to take care of the 3 domains that we have: cognitive and affective and psychomotor. Our subject, the learning outcomes, may define how much of cognitive skills that the students have to learn, how much of affective skills the students have to learn, how many psychomotor skills that we have. Not all the subjects may have all the 3 domains. Some of them may have cognitive and affective. Some of them may be having the psychomotor. But it is for the facilitator or the subject coordinator to integrate in the right blend to make the students to engage in the classroom. So now, our first and foremost priority is the engagement and motivate the students to get engaged in our sessions. How do we do that? So we know that according to the domains also, we have the 3 engagements. We have the cognitive engagement, we have the behavioral engagement, and the emotional engagement. So we have to mix them in the proper mode so that they can learn better if they are actively engaged in the topics. Now, one of the precondition or prerequisite for the student engagement is the motivation. Student should be motivated to join the class, then only he will get engaged. So the better engagement, or the more he engages in the class, the better learning experience he gets. There are so many models in our engagement. One of the models that we have is that we use is the ERCS model. One is the attention, relevance, and confidence and satisfaction. Attention is meaning the attention of the learners, what they want. We have to be always attentive to the class, right? Then relevance. So when we teach them, some of the lecturers give old examples. The students may be having the latest examples. Maybe read it in the newspaper or some article, a recent article. So he may be having all that information. And if the lecturer or the facilitator is not relevant to the current time and the future expectations of the students may not be attentive or he may not be engaged. And the lecturer also should be confident that whatever that he says, he must say with a confidence. That confidence helps the students. Oh, this lecturer is very confident in saying that. So he may be trying to engage in the class. And then the lecturer should create a satisfaction among the lecturers. So when the students get satisfied, so he get motivated. When he gets motivated, really he engages with the class. Now these are all some of the examples you might have seen in the newspapers also. This student, so he is highly motivated students. So she wants to learn. There is online one. Is during the COVID-19. It is in May end. So he searched for the internet where it is coming there. She found that only at the rooftop she gets the internet. So she went at the top and then she was learning. There is also one more student who could not get the online one, but she is very much interested, but she got suicide. So the students are motivated, but as a lecturer, are we ready to engage them? Right? So now, this is a study conducted in Malaysia, what the online learners expect from the lectures. So here, they expect on 4 different terms. One is the simple truth, the communication, the course, how many courses that they can take. In our university, in one semester, the students can register for 7 courses at a time. So how many they can manage, how are the assignments that the students are given, and a reasonable time period to do that. And the lecturer should be available 24/7. Even though the students are not available, but they expect the lecturer to be available 24/7. And they want the flexible deadlines whenever we give assignment, activity, discussion, and all that. They always want extensions. And they want, in the online, they want the free hand-holding with the frequent feedback. So they want the lecturers, whenever they get a doubt, so they want the lecturer to answer them with frequent intervals. And immediately when they ask for it, so they expect the should immediately respond. And they also want the assurance that they are on the track. So when they are doing the assignment or when they are preparing for the examination, they always ask. So we have the 2 hours in a week also, where the lecturers have to be attentive to the students. So they have a specific time is there. So the students can walk into the room and then ask for whether they are proceeding in the right direction, whether they are good at it. Any guidance we have to give. Even in the online, it is there. And to make the lecturers more to be attentive, so the 70-20-10 models is adopted for the active learning. 70% of the time is to be engaged in the activities, 20% is on closure, 10%, the last 30% is the reflection, that is on the outcome, what they learned. So this model. Now this is a typical example of how you can manage the students without boring. So to start with, you can start with an activity. So just to recollect what they have done in the earlier class and all that. It can be a quiz kind of thing. So you can use the Kahoot, and create a quiz and ask them just to recollect what is there. Then you can go for the lecture PPT, which you can focus on the theory part, what point you want to stress. And then go for 10 minutes activity. It can be a group activity or can be a small group. You can split the class into groups. Now in the online, so how to create a group? Zoom, the Microsoft Team and all that, they provide channels and other things. You can create groups and then you can split them. And after the 10 minutes, you can ask them to come present their what they have learned. And then, so with their presentation, what they have learned, you can go and discuss what they have presented, or if you want to enhance what they have done, so you can do it another 15 minutes. So with that, then another group activity can be there. So it can be on the reflection, what they have learned. So what is the output they have generated, kind of thing. So if you can split this class timings, this is only a model. It's not necessarily that you should follow this. So definitely, so at the end of the class, you can expect the students have learned something. So what is the part that you have started teaching it here? So they learned it by activity. So if you want to engage them, so you have to give more activities. This is one book which is freely available. This is by Curtis J. Bong. So he gives 100+ activities for motivating and retaining the lectures online. You can download it and you can use it. So you have a variety of activities are there. So the TEC represents the tone and the climate. So where the students are engaged, the encouragement and the curiosity. But they give you in all the domains from different levels, the activities are there. So you can download this book and then you can include in your curriculum of the activities that you can do. And most importantly, the activities, now we focus on the cognitive part of it, that is the thinking skill, rather than on the, they can, so while doing this, they can also have the affirmative and as well as the psychomotor, but the prime importance is the cognitive engagement on the thinking part of it. Now for this, you can use the Bloom's taxonomy where you have the 7 levels. So before the class, for the pre-class activities, so you can ask them to, it depends upon the grade of the students that you are teaching. Suppose if it is for the undergraduate, you may not focus on this part, you may focus on the higher level. Suppose if it is for the undergraduate, for some time you may focus on the pre-class activities, and as you go, then you may focus on the higher level of the taxonomy. Like so, when you teach also, you should also match this kind of levels, and the activities also should match this. Like not necessarily that you should go to this level, higher level. So sometimes you may start with applying the theory that you have taught, or applying the algorithm that you have taught, or applying the methodology that you have taught. Sometimes you may go for analyzing part of it. sometimes you go for evaluating part of it. Depends. So this will be there in your learning outcome in each of the courses. So you can make use of this. Do that. So, but when you design the activities, so you should take care of this. It should be in three categories. One is the engage, another is the interact, and third one is the action. So when you design your activities, you see that different various levels of domains are included in the activities, right? When the interaction, so this may be for a group activity, so you should see that the activities allow the learners to interact with their peers. So in the group ones, this may be a slight case study approach, or you may give some practical example, discuss, to develop, to analyze, right, or to evaluate, and then take come out. And then lastly, in the last part of it, the collaborative part of it, the closing part of it, you can also ask them to create a tangible output in terms of assignment, or in terms of project, or in terms of some models. You can ask them to do. Right? So your activities should match these three part of it. They should be engaged, they should be allowed to interact with them, and they should produce some tangible output. Right? Like that, you have designed your activities. Now, I'm going to the theoretical framework. So one of the very famous models that is available for the engaging online learners is the community of inquiry. Right? So this community of inquiry is very popular one. There are so many other frameworks are there. For want of time, I'm not taking all these things. I'm just focusing on the community of inquiry only. So community of inquiry was given by Professor Garrison, Anderson, and Acher in 2000, which has got three parts. One is the cognitive presence, teaching presence, and the social presence. The cognitive presence talks about the exploration, divergence, information exchange, brainstorming, conclusion, and all that. So about the thinking skills of it. This is your main part, teaching presence. How are you designing your course? What are the designs that you use so that students, when they see the design, so they are motivated and they are coming to the class. Right? And setting of the curriculum, establishing the time parameters and all that. And you should also set up the NITIQ. So what are the do's and don'ts? You should also set up the ground rules for the online. So we'll talk about that later. So that is there. And main one is the social presence. So it is the interaction with the students. So continuing a thread and then referring to other messages. So when you are teaching, somebody may be asking a question. So you have to answer that also. And you may be asking questions to respond. So here also for asking questions, there are so many tools that are there. So not necessarily that you should find one person, you can do some random thing, then you can select a person and then do that. Complimenting them whenever they are doing a good work, so complimenting them. So that is one way of motivating the students, right? Expressing the agreement and appreciation, and when they are producing a output, tangible output. So there should be some way of encouragement. Right? So it is the social presence is very much required. So when you are doing this, so you can develop activities according to this. So whatever that you want to give focus, not all these things can be done in the same topic, in the same subject, in the same class. But some of them you can take it and make use of them so that the learners are motivated by their mere motivation, so they are engaged in the class. Now, especially for the cognitive presence, so you should make them think critically. So he or she goes through the process of constructing knowledge, inquiring, and exploring, and thinking. So this is the main focus. So we should focus on the cognitive presence. So to make them think critically. All our activities, as just now, Professor Rebecca was also mentioning about how she makes the students to think and come out with their own models, come out with their own tools for marketing and sales, right? But at the same time, please be careful. So too much of cognitive is also dangerous. So avoid cognitive overload because the students may not be ready to take that because especially in this COVID-19 period, so they may not be ready to take that overload. So please be careful. So like and as I told you, so the students expect us to be there 24/7, but we can also frame our rules, ground rules. So this is for the online discussion boards. There are standard rules, 15 rules are there. So you can do that. And students also, when they post something in their Facebook, so whenever we teach, nowadays the students are very active. Before you finish the class, so whatever that you have said in the class, whatever you have done in the class, it comes in the Facebook and there are so many likes, dislikes, so many critics are there. So please tell them what you are supposed to do as a responsible student in the class. Otherwise, whatever that you do, because you do not know what they are doing. So they may be taking a video and they may be posting it in the social media. So before you finish your class, so it will become viral. So be careful. So for that, you have to fix the ground rules for the online teaching also. This is online discussion boards, but you can also prepare for the online teaching. And these are all some of the tools that you can use. Most of the lecturers use it. We all use it. We use these tools in our university. Some of them, as just now, Dika was also talking about the blunt space, the Padlet. There is also a tool called blunt space. Like ED Puzzle, you can use it. Zoom, you can use it. Kahoot for the quiz and all that, you can use Kahoot. The Canva, you can use it for the infographic design. So the Snappa is also for the graphic design. So you can, some of them are free, some of them are time-based price models are there, different models are there, you can use them and integrate it with the online platforms. Some of the online platforms that you can think of or you can use it is the open learning hub. You can integrate these tools into this openlearning.com and you can also have the Moodles. Some of the universities are using, our university is using the Google Classroom. So some of them can be integrated with the Google Classroom. You can use, you develop your own online module using the sites. You can integrate some of the modules with this, right? So these platforms are all there. You can use, there are so many other platforms. These are also some of the platforms that are popular in Malaysia and that is used. You can also use MOOC. So if you develop some of the modules which are marketable, so you can develop MOOC and then the participants or the learners can be from any country, from any part of the world. So I think that's all about my thing. So thank you for listening.
Thank you so much, Professor Govindan Marthandan, for enlightening us through your deep knowledge of the discipline. Now, we are going to listen to an exceptional academician and researcher, Professor Kolawole Subair from Kano. He's a very highly valued teacher, and that value system is, evaluated on the basis of his student feedback. He's a very senior professor at Yusuf Maitama Sule State University in Nigeria. And Professor Kolawole Subair will now be deliberating on the topic Bridging the Education Inequity in Nigeria from E-Learning Perspective. I invite him for his address. Subair sir, kindly unmute yourself. Subair sir, you are not audible. Kindly switch on your mic.
Okay, can you hear me now? Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir. You.
Okay. Good day, everyone. Thanks so much for the honor bestowed on me. Without wasting much of our time, I just want to present the title Bridging the Education Inequity in Nigeria, the e-learning perspective. As you can see from the structure of the paper, it starts with the introduction, overview and evolution of online education globally, and the emergence and trends of online education in Nigeria, challenges of online education in Nigeria, conclusion and recommendations. Actually, I have decided to choose this topic just because of the fact that Nigeria is lagging behind in e-learning or online education, and even in the face-to-face conventional delivery of education, it has been problematic. Generally, even in sub-Saharan African countries, that in terms of education, there have been a lot of underfunding, and this has continued to make the country lag behind in the online education system. To start with, I want to take us through the fact that education, technology, and economy, they are all inputs into the sustainable development, because with education, the skills, the knowledge are developed. And with this knowledge and development, it can assist in reducing or alleviating poverty, which is pervading in sub-Saharan Africa and Nigeria especially. So it is now imperative that, considering the cost of funding education, the increase in the population, the increase in demand for education, as well as the diversified background and socio-cultural environment, and with all these problems, it is imperative for Nigeria to adopt any of the online education strategies. So therefore, I want to start off with the fact that the education, technology, and the economy, as they are interrelated, it tends to create wealth creation, and poverty alleviation. This is where the focus of this paper will be on. And that is the more reason why, in order to bridge the inequity in the education system of Nigeria, it is important that the country will have to brace up, in the sense that even the conventional educational system, for so many years now, it has been 6 to 8% of the country's budget that is being allocated to education, which is far below the UNESCO, minimum funding. So, based on this, we need to really look at the next piece. Next slide. So we need to look at where Nigeria is going and where it is coming from. And before one can start talking about the emergence and trends of online education in Nigeria, one needs to look at the global education, the global evolution of online education, which starts, with digital mode, then the traditional distance learning system, which of course I wouldn't want to take us, through all those terminologies that had already been discussed earlier on. But the fact remains that for Nigeria, education is regarded as, an inalienable right for every citizen, which of course it is made compulsory. Hello? Can you hear me? It's an inalienable right of every Nigerian child, which of course it makes it it compelled Nigeria to now embrace the open and distance learning education. But what actually prompted Nigeria to adopt this learning, distance learning education has to do with the fact that you have the problem of deprivation of the female population as a result of probably marriage, this early childhood marriage, the religious perspective that female do not need to be highly educated, then the childhood and early marriages, physical disabilities, remoteness of locations, and the high level of poverty. So all these make it imperative that Nigeria should join the League of Online Education. And when you look at the global evolution now, where Nigeria has, actually embraced it, one begins to look at the massive open online education, which of course, next please, with the massive open online education, one would see that between 2018 and 2019, the number of courses undertaken by about 450 universities globally in terms of the courses taken have increased tremendously, and the number of learners too had also increased. And based on that, you have about in 2018, the number of learners were 81 million, but by 2019 it had increased to about 13 million, while the number of courses had also increased from 2,500 from about now 1,000 and something courses to 2,500 courses being offered. And in terms of disciplines, about 55% we are in STEM, education, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, while the other 45%, the remaining 45%, we are taken over by, the other courses. So from this, we can be able to look at the fact that Nigeria too will need to key into this e-learning, simply because apart from the fact that the digital education has been something which is increasing and improving in the recent past, and which is what is being accepted globally, this has been made possible because of the quality and efficiency attributed to the industry in terms of the businesses who are interested in making sure that there is on-job training, and this continues to improve, the online education. Then even the government, the rate at which the government is being managed and administered necessitate the fact that there is need, most especially during this abnormal period, though it is normal to abnormal, the normal era, well, we should say that this is the era of online. Everything is online. So, and the reality is being done now with the 3 tiers of government that is being administered from any part of the world. Then the law and regulations, information and communication technology, capacity of information and communication technology, the internet, mobile technology, connectivity, income and digital transformation. All these are contributed, to the development of online education. Next, please. Next. Ramesh, next. So, when you now look at the evolution, how the Nigerian online education or e-learning started, if you looking at the table, the e-learning in Nigeria predates, the e-learning education in Nigeria predates its independence, as it started from England with correspondence and with Nigerian Broadcasting Corporation on the education programs, in most that involved just sciences and some other management courses, though it was partially successful. Then in 1960, the Nigerian television started this distant learning education for primary and secondary school students, and which of course it was through the television programs, which is called the educational programs of the television, and it is still the same distant learning. But in 1972, Ahmadu Bello University started its own, commenced its own distant learning by way of teaching the secondary school teachers and those in teacher training colleges. And as at that time, it was just a matter of having, a kind of special centers, training them on part-time basis, and then giving them the opportunity to come as at when due. And then followed by University of Lagos that started its own distant learning in 1974. Of course, the distant learning system is such a way that to the universities, they have different centers which cover the geographical zones of Nigeria. But by the time they want to have their exams, they are all invited to the main campus. But the distant learning is just like the face-to-face conventional teaching modules. So then that also follows in 1976, National Teachers Institute and the University of Ibadan with its external degree program. But when you look at the revolution of e-learning per se, it all started in 1983 with the National Open University of Nigeria, established purposely because the first major reason for the establishment of the National Open University is to be able to tackle all the problems that have emanated from all the conventional universities in terms of, trying to deliver education to the unreached. But what has been discovered is that along the line, there were a lot of mushroom, education centers, which of course the profit they were making was so magnificent that the government now discovered that in order to bring quality to the distant learning, the best that could happen was to start its own National Open University, which of course the financial investment there and the quality wise made the country, to come up with the National Open Universities. And then the Nigerian government also discovered that the cost of, funding higher education, is so high, like I said earlier on, that the country could not even meet the 26%, UNESCO recommended allocation, to education. So that also, make the government to establish the National Open University. And then the emergence of information and communications technology, which of course the world is moving towards that direction. So this made the government to realize that, it is better for even the country to move along. And then you have the improved economies of scale, because we have discovered that the cost of running the National Open University is less compared to, the conventional university system. Then the need to provide education for all and promotion of lifelong learning. Then the flexibility of the delivery system, maximum utilization of academic staff. But then with all this, there are so many, issues that are also still going on. But then when you look at the now, apart from the fact that they have about 28 centers and specialized centers cutting across Nigeria, the kind of system they are using is delivering online lecture, not by the virtual classroom, but by virtue of preparing materials, study materials, so that the students can upload and read online. But the idea of teaching them directly online, the asynchronous system, is not really performing very effectively. So the institution, the National Open University per se, now use the hybrid or the blended mode. As you can see from the National Open University Agricultural Demonstration Farm, the tutor there, the person there that is leading them there is the director of that particular center, who happened to be an agriculturist. And he has even been clamoring that that particular center should be designated as agricultural campus of the National Open University. So it shows that the National Open University is more interested in the blended mode and is more interested in enhancing the quality of its e-learning by virtue of combining the hybrid and the blended type. So I mean the digital and the traditional e-learning and distance learning. So this also, gets to the point of where you even see those people that are trying to, we are trying to process the cassava for cassava flour. So all these are part of even the National Open University is also trying in the area of, entrepreneurship, not necessarily in the specialization of the students. Hello? Am I on?
Yes, sir.
Still on?
Yes, sir. Kolawale, sir, you are audible, sir.
Okay, sir. So it's like even with the online education in Nigeria, it is not just the specialty that matters, but the incorporation of entrepreneurship skill is also being demonstrated by the National Open University. It is this that many of the private institutions, private higher institutions are now adopting. But then, despite the fact that the cost is so huge and only few could afford to go to the private higher institutions of learning, yet the institutions have not even been able, to achieve the target of online, education per se. And it is unfortunate that the whole situation became apparent that Nigeria is unprepared for this technological device in terms of education, because with COVID-19, virtually every student, 85% of Nigerian students are at home without doing anything. And it is simply because the online educational system is not common here due to so many problems. So some of those challenges that is being faced by the Nigerian online education distance learning has to do with the financial greed and corruption, which I had mentioned earlier on, that in the first instance, even the issue of online education, which started from distant open distance learning or through the distant learning by having centers all over the places, it was like a free will whereby the tutors they were taken over by the illusion of the fact that they are all alone in the rural areas, most especially, and they continue to even exploit the students. And so they even neglected their primary objective of being there. And another major problem that has also been identified is even in all those private institutions where they have the opportunity of providing all these kind of learning systems, they lack the pedagogy of online education and the learning styles. And you see, even among the students, the skills, most especially on the part of the student to even align with whatever is being taught, is also, not in order. And apart from that, some of these students too, they lack the motivation. They do not even follow the simple rules of the game. Sometimes they may be online and they'll be doing something else rather than focusing on the education, rather than focusing on what matters to them or what brought them even to the place. It has been discovered also that many a times when they are giving assignment, they do not do this assignment. And some of them have been complaining of, okay, there is poor connectivity of electricity, there is the cost of the bandwidth is high, problems of, so many problems, inadequate internet coverage, and these are many of the problems that are faced. Hello?
Sir, you're running out of time, sir.
Okay, so these are some of the problems that are faced, in the Nigerian online education system. So when you look at this, my suggestions for improvement have been that, okay, there should be consistent education policy content with digital technology, so that right from the beginning, Nigeria needs to review its its education policy, so that it will now factor in the digital technology in order to move with time and pace of development. Then the synchronous and asynchronous modes of communication should equally be encouraged, not just this distant learning alone, where the students will just be going, but they must make sure that the communication system is encouraged, and that it can be online strictly at times and offline at times. Then the restriction of online education should be restricted to postgraduate and some professional degree programs, because of what I have identified earlier on, that there are problems with many of these younger generation. So it is better to restrict online education to postgraduate, to postgraduate students. Then we have the need to improve and upgrade all telecommunication, power and energy infrastructures for online education to take its full effect. And am I on?
Yes, sir, you are audible, but request you to conclude, sir.
So there is need to improve all the communication. Even if it is possible, Nigeria needs to even integrate or collaborate with some regional government, and then get across to many of the Nigerians in diaspora to support the cause of online education, most especially during this period of pandemic, that it is now glaring that the country has a lot of problems in terms of delivery of education. Then again, the Nigerian government should partner with international security agencies against cybercrime and online banditry, because most of the times some of these hackers get into the website, obliterate the results, obliterate the examination questions, and did a lot of havoc on some of those institutions that have been running online education. And then the enabling law of online education should be reviewed, in the sense that there is this bias, serious bias against online certificates in Nigeria here. And it has been discovered that with this, some even don't get jobs. With this, some even, like the law students, for instance, they are not called to the bar simply because they have been restricted from going to law school. Online degrees, it's not acceptable. The same thing goes for the National Youth Service Corps. So as a result of this, I want to suggest that review of the enabling law should be, the law should be reviewed for online education in Nigeria. And then perhaps I want to conclude by saying that for Nigeria to move steadily at the pace of other countries, it needs to adopt the blended model of online education. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Kolawole Subir, for enlightening us through your deep knowledge of the discipline. Now, I would like to acknowledge your outputs and eminent knowledge. On behalf of the we have we have eminent researcher and professor of chemistry, Dr. Sangeeta Lutkalmani. We have out this fact that these additional techniques are there. Eminent and
You are not audible, sir.
Renowned academician Dr. Sarla Sharma ma'am from Udaipur, eminent teacher Professor Raju Agrawal sir, outstanding teacher and researcher of political science Dr. Vijayashree is there, and a very young scholar, very promising young scholar from Dwarka, New Delhi, Pratishta Sharma is also there with us. Now moving ahead, now we are going to listen to Honorable Chief Guest Address. The Honorable Chief Guest for second day is a world-renowned expert on quality training and research, Professor M.P. Gupta, sir, from Indian Institute of Technology, Delhi. He is honored by prestigious Dhananjay Chair Professorship. He is not only a great academician and researcher, he is a great human being as well, a person with a very noble heart. I proudly invite Honorable Chief Guest, Professor M.P. Gupta, sir, for his address.
Hello, everybody. Am I audible?
Yes, sir, you are audible, sir.
Yes, sir.
Thank you so much, Dr. Maharshi, for inviting into such a wonderful program. And I heard very patiently all speakers and enjoyed thoroughly. It started from Dr. C.V. Sharma, who talked about various care to be taken over cyber platform, because we are all very innocent people. As a teacher, student, we are all very innocent people. But innocency should not be actually breached by nefarious minds who are always around, and they're all invisible. And cyber space is anyway very invisible platform. Nobody knows where we are working. So he alerted us into a lot of care which is needed, and also this is a way of life now. You accept it or reject it. This is the way of life now onwards. We are going to live a life which has two faces: one physical, one is cyber. And this reality, is going to be in vogue. And here, government has, huge responsibility to ensure things are, in right place. And today is a time to also have a lot of global cooperation on this. Unfortunately, I have not seen any clear-cut, collaboration on cybersecurity protocols. UN and ITU both are very, very prominent organizations which are guiding nations to chalk out various development policies. But on cybersecurity, I have not seen any global treaty that guides cyberspace to be safe and secure. So this is very, very important issue. I also heard Dr. Rebecca very patiently, who talked about communication, and a lot of links I noted from her presentation, like badge, Padlet and badges and shootout, IBM tone analyzer, rainmaker, and also a lot of things about vulnerability, rethinking about examination, etc. All very interesting coverage. I think a teacher, they're all going to be very helpful. And also subsequent speakers talking about online learning, and also our counterpart giving experience of Nigeria. So in this background, I would like to emphasize on opportunities that is thrown by COVID-19. So we are all facing a lot of challenges. It's a very extraordinary time that that we have never seen before, and we can probably recall few tough time when there has been war, or nothing like that in recent past. After World War II, probably World War III is awaited, but this like World War III only. So impact is going to be tremendous, and going to shape a new normal. New normal is a word people talk about, and I see it is throwing a lot of economic challenges. Economic activities are held up so far. All offices are closed, all factories are closed. I don't know what is happening in China. They are probably reopening factories, but again things are stuck. Small businesses in three sectors, particularly restaurants, tourism sector, manufacturing and retailing, they're all stuck, and they could be facing long hard recovery. And it, as per predictions, it's still not really very, very authentic, but guesstimates say that it will take another 5 to 10 years time to come back to normal situation of economic growth. However, if you look at opportunities of innovation, of designing new ways of doing things, of protecting ourselves around, it will create a lot of opportunities, and people estimate it is going to create some $12 trillion of economy, future economy. Who is going to share maximum? It depends on who is more proactive. Also, we need to reimagine a workforce in a new working model, bringing back workforce to the workplace to do their job is going to be uh, a homework, a new homework, and also even so it's going to be a mixed way of working. So a factory will require a physical presence, but I think it will trigger adoption of Industry 4.0 faster. So a lot of automation via IoT and AI, which is projected to be happening near future. Some sectors have seen adoption, but it's going to trigger a very quick and faster Industry 4.0 arrival of sooner across all nations. I remember having read some good case studies long back. One that I refer to a shipbuilding company in Ukraine, Odessa, which used to spread around how many area? I think you can count 12 to 20, 15 to 20 sports stadium size, which is fully automated, hardly manned by 12 to 20 people. So a ship manufacturing is a big product, which is just requiring intervention of 12 to 20 people. This was 30 years back, 25, 30 years back. So we are looking at a scenario where industry is going to transform significantly. So I would see a virtual workforce will be also quite significant. It is there anyway, but it is it's going to be almost round the clock. So creating a sense of belongingness, a common purpose, and a shared identity when some people work in their homes and some in office is going to be a challenge. So there are a lot of potent topics for researchers. An education system, I think all of us talked about that, it was not built so far to deal this extraordinary situation. And so we are learning to adapt to this crisis. In India, almost all academic institutions almost stopped. We struggled to somehow wind up our semester exams. New admissions are still not happening. After 10+2 exams, board exams, admissions to university programs, IIT programs, all pending. IIT JEE has not yet happened. When after admission semester will begin, also unsure. September is the one we people talk about. If we start semester after new academic sessions, when it will end up the first year classes, and also after that, it connects to subsequent years of education. So it's a very uncertain phenomena. I myself was teaching a course in IIT Jodhpur, which got stuck in midway in the March. Then subsequently I covered remaining topics in online mode, and also conducted one exam. I heard Professor Rebecca talking about a very innovative method of examination. I experimented here. So I gave an assignment. See, now today when you are teaching PG students, instead of teaching, teach anyway, whatever is the syllabus. But inventing a new model of flipped classroom where you engage into practice and project work, giving them challenges of task, then connected regular classes. Class anyway, you can record. There are good 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 videos available of great professors. Uh, that is advantage available today. Okay. So what I did, I undertook a course on e-commerce, so a typical examination would not serve a great purpose. What I did, I designed a lot of topics like if Walmart bought over Flipkart India, Flipkart used to be a very charming example for young students who aspire to become billionaire like Bill Gates and Sachin Bansal. But Walmart Walmart bought over Flipkart is a good strategy or bad strategy? Who gained, Walmart or Flipkart? Are the guys who are leading Flipkart very smart enough to get out of a company which is going to fail anyway in due course of time? So Walmart has a capacity to absorb $1 billion to 20-30 billion dollar of losses, but these guys would not be. Now, who can answer this question so easily? Okay, and also I gave a question like compare internet policy of China versus India. Now it is difficult to answer in 2 hours exam pattern sitting in a exam center. So what I did, I designed some 20 odd such topics and gave to my students who are sitting at various places at their homes and gave them 2 weeks time. I gave them structure to design a write-up. So it was a challenge to develop a thinking write-up which can given to a senior professor like Rebecca, and one can and challenge to develop a write-up which can excite anybody. There must be something new. So aim was to make them thinking person. Aim was to make them who are around. So entire Google was available to them. They have to. They are referring to all write-up, all thought processes that exist on the internet, and then develop their own idea, their own write-up. Of course, it was write-up was put to plagiarism check. So what so gain was tremendous. Tremendousness that my students in 2 weeks time transformed into a huge level of new knowledge that they acquired by writing this topic. I think there are many ways to invent. I think there are online tools available where you can easily engage them to think in a quicker manner, in a shorter point of time, be more responsive to challenging questions, etc. So this is going to be way forward. I think world over, bright minds are going to come out with a lot of innovative ideas to to help us organize ourselves in cyberspace. Yeah, of course, there are challenges of remote education. As my counterpart from Nigeria spoke about, lot of difficulties there. It is very natural, access to remote learning, quality of remote instruction, home support by your people at home, and degree of engagement. They're all going to be not so easy. It will take a lot of time to stabilize and mature even system, because you are sitting at distant places. There is an interface, there is a channel, and having some level of quality is not going to be easy. So it is a challenge before all of us. Also, many of the students may not be able to really absorb what is being delivered via online mode. Okay, and some of them will drop out also. So I see a definite learning loss when we are forced to adopt this mechanism. Going to be a huge learning loss, and the economic impact of learning loss is going to be tremendous, and it may transform into a long-term harm for individual and in society both. So physical classroom has no replacement in my assessment. these are online mode is only complementary mechanism. Action, and so if learning loss is going to be significant, then we are going to have less skilled people around, and it will impact productivity in at workplace. So this is going to be also an issue to be examined, and it will be examined. Action, I think online education system has to be matured. Resources around that has to be brought in more. There is a promise for technology sector, telecom sector and technology sector. They are now posed with challenge to bring out newer solutions, newer platform. Also, healthcare sector as well is going to, it is facing, but response is also going to be quick. And in today's time where healthcare is going to be a sector getting more prominence, I think traditional systems are going to come up and get more recognition. Even sitting at home, we are advised to follow a lot of things which are very common in Indian homes, like yoga, like pranayama, like Ayurvedic medicines, which are actually going to strengthen your immune system. And so they are the things which will get more acceptability, and probably will people get forced to be more disciplined and be more sincere. And yeah, I think this special scenario is going to give us giving a pause to rethink, revisualize, and chalk out a new landscape of future society where we can live peacefully and nicely. I think I'll stop here. I'll hand over to organizer to take it forward. Thanks for your patience.
Thank you, respected Gupta sir, for your words showering wisdom and blessings. Thank you so much, Gupta sir. While thanking the Almighty for all His countless blessings for the success of this webinar, I invite our webinar president, Professor Sanjeev Vittal sir, to thank all those who have tried to make this international webinar a sweet memory of knowledge transforming into wisdom. Professor Mittal sir is holding the key responsibility of being the Director, Academic Affairs at Guru Gobind Singh Indraprasth University, New Delhi. Before he starts his address, I would like to acknowledge the fact that he has always been a great source of inspiration for all of us. He's always smiling and bearing responsibility as a great pillar of strength, and this webinar is no exception. I invite Professor Sanjeev Mittal sir for his vote of thanks.
Thank you, Dr. Kshitij, and thanks for giving me a compliment that my face is a smiling face. I don't know to what extent people will acknowledge it. At least my students do not acknowledge. So thank you very much, and I am really thankful to Dr. C.B. Sharma sir, who basically has organized this program in association with Guru Gobind Singh Indraprasth University, which is a Delhi State University. And I have my friend and colleague, Professor M.P. Gupta sir from IIT Delhi. I think he will remember me. And we had good times. We worked together. So, friends...
yes, very much, Professor Mittal. I remember you very well.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. So, first of all, on the outset, friends, I will basically thank the organization for choosing such a wonderful topic, which is at least a need of the day, which when we are talking in terms of online education, what are the issues and challenges? And we could see diverse opinions that have come from developed countries as well as from developing countries. And what basically we can conclude is developed countries are in favor of online education, whereas it is going to take some time for the developing countries to cope up with online education. I think this is what has also been addressed by Professor M.P. Gupta, IIT Delhi, that I think there is no replacement for what we are talking in terms of the offline education. But friends, one thing is very clear, that future is going to be of online education, because as the internet is penetrating in a big way, and when we talk in terms of youngsters, they look in for more freedom. And at least the youngsters these days are not interested to come to the classes. Although universities in India has kept one of the very important rule, and that is 75% of the attendance to be completed. And we really find this as a challenge, how to complete their attendance, because it is not for the students to accept this challenge, but I think it is more for us as a faculty to accept this as a challenge, how to complete their attendance. I think in this age of digital technology, online education will definitely have some space, friends. But I have already said, I think in developed countries, we have already have more digital literacy as compared to the developing countries. So I think another 5 to 7 years it is going to take up by the time this digital revolution is going to come over here in these developing countries. Until that time, I think it is what we are trying to talk of the offline education. One more thing I would like to put it on record, since it is an international webinar and we have some international guests also. There are certain things which cannot be done online. Let's say, for example, I have already said some type of lab work is required. So I think lab work really requires hand-on practice. And as Dr. Rebecca has said from US, that we have various types of podcasts, we have various types of say sales competition platforms, we have some simulation exercises, but they can be add-ons. They cannot replace the type of the education that we have to give to our students. Let's say, for example, Madam, I am also a professor of marketing, and I think we are having the same wavelength. And as a professor of marketing, if I have to teach some concepts, I think I can teach those concepts online. But moment I have to basically make the students to apply those concepts, I think I will require them to have physical presence out over there in the classroom. And because of that particular reason, even an institution like Harvard Business School, which we always benchmark, they are not trying to convert themselves to fully online education. Maybe there are some courses which are bridging courses which can be done online, but at least we are not moving altogether onto the online education. Now, another thing which I will also like to put it on record is that we have various types of accreditation bodies. And one such accreditation body for technical courses is what is in India called as NBA, National Board of Accreditation. And when we talk about this National Board of Accreditation, they have started talking in terms of what is called as OBE, outcome-based education. And when they talk in terms of outcome-based education, I think, let's say, for example, I'm a professor of marketing teaching to the MBA students. The outcome for an MBA program is what? The placement of the students. And for that placement of the students, they require three types of things into their, say, kitty. And I basically give this name as KSA. K stands for knowledge, S stands for skill set, and A stands for attitude. I think attitude can also be developed through classroom teaching. When we talk of skills, I think skilling can also be done more offline as compared to online. And when we talk in terms of knowledge, yes, over here, I think we can have a blend of offline with what? Online. And for that particular reason, what I personally feel is that we can always take online education as complementary or supplementary to the offline education. But I think if we are trying to totally replace the offline education with online education, I think professors like us will also not find our livelihood. I think we are having our livelihood because we basically are employed by university. And when everything is going to go online, I think there will be no need for us. And therefore, I think survival of the fittest is going to be there. If I can basically deliver certain type of lectures, I can create my own MOOCs. And I have all these types of lectures, videos I'm good in content writing, then only I will be having my survival as well as I can satisfy my students. So I think this is what I personally thought I should basically emphasize out over here as the president of this particular conference, friends. But very important responsibility has been given to me. I will not like to say furthermore because the today's responsibility is to thank, and this thanksgiving is very difficult part for any type of a person who has to give the thanks. But in any case, since this responsibility has been given, first of all, I will express my thanks from my heart to my Vice Chancellor, Honorable Professor Mahesh Verma ji, who because of some prior commitments could not join us. But he is the force behind who basically agreed to associate with the organization as an academic partner to organize this international webinar. So in absentia, I am trying to put a vote of thanks for him. Secondly, my vote of thanks is to the patron of this conference, who is Dr. C.B. Sharma sir, who is an IPS officer. And I was really surprised to look in for that at this particular age also is very active and is basically involved in what is called as cyber security. So sir, whatever lessons you have given us in terms of some rules, some sections, I think all those things were beyond our digestion. But in any case, we learned a lot about Information Technology Act of 2000 and various types of rules which are there as a part of 2011. And I think all these types of cyber security precautions have always to be taken whenever we are trying to go online or whenever we are using anything what we are talking in terms of internet. We are really thankful to you, sir, for really encouraging us and therefore giving all your knowledge, whatever you have acquired over a period of years. Although whatever you have told us was too much technical, but still I endorse the knowledge what you are trying to have over a period of years. And I think you are a true person who needs to be acknowledged and put on record out over here as a part of this international webinar. My thanks are also due to Dr. Rebecca Dingus from US, who really has talked in terms of that education is a process. And rightly she has said education is a process. And we were in a position over here as faculty from India that we are using Moodles as a platform, as a learning management system. We have designed our own various types of books and we are trying to look in for. But I think certain new things what we have learned from her, I will definitely like to put it on record in terms of tone analyzer 2. That can be a very good, wonderful tool that is designed by IBM Watson. Then basically we were also delighted to look in for some type of virtual sales competition type of a tool designed by Dell in terms of Rainmakers. Then she talked something about the podcast and an organization which is helping this, that is canva.org, and many more things what she deliberated upon. And I think we really have gained a lot. Madam, thanks very much for sparing and joining us over here with your wonderful words, what you have said. I think your words are going to be a word of wisdom for all of us. We are really thankful to you, and I thank from my heart for your august presence over here on this international webinar. Now, my thanks are also due to Professor Kolawole Subair, who is from Nigeria and who talked in terms of bridging the education inequality in Nigeria, e-learning perspectives, where he very honestly told us that Nigeria is still struggling in terms of talking in terms of the online education. And first of all, I think the biggest problem for them is in terms of their livelihood. And rightly, he said that education, technology, and the economy is definitely going to help the Nigerians in terms of earning their livelihood. So I think this is very important because if we look in for the Maslow's need hierarchy, the first need that is always there is nothing but called as the physiological need, which is nothing but in terms of the food and the livelihood. And first of all, people are once in a position to have their livelihoods in terms of the food and shelter covered, then only they can think in terms of something else. And he also emphasized about some type of threats which are there when they use in terms of the internet or online education, where bandwidth is a problem and the cost of the bandwidth is a problem. Some cyber security issues are there. So we are really thankful to Professor Kolawale Sobed, who basically could highlight certain type of problems which are there faced over there in Nigeria when we talk in terms of online education. We are really thankful to you, sir, for sparing your precious time to be with us on this international webinar. My thanks are also due to Professor Govindam Marthondan from Malaysia, and we really put it on record, Professor Govindam, that whatever model you have told us in terms of ARCS model, where we talked in terms of attention, relevance, we talk in terms of the contents and then the satisfaction. I think this model is really relevant when we talk in terms of online education. To what extent, as online educators, we are in a position to get to have the attention of the students? To what extent, whatever we are trying to teach has got any type of a relevance? What type of content we are trying to deliver? And to what extent we are in a position to create a satisfaction on the recipients whom we are trying to teach online? I think this model really has to be thought about before we are in a position to look in for the online learning. And I think for engaging online learners, the model which has been suggested is quite relevant. We put that model on record, and I think we are going to definitely adopt this particular model. Although we have one more model, friends, and that is towards the technology acceptance, because when we talk of online, I think one of the issues which I deliberated is in terms of what is called as computer literacy. And over there, I have already said that most of our students in India, they are not very much comfortable when they are trying to, say, work on the computer. And for that particular reason, the model is called as that's Technology Adoption Model, TAM. And in this TAM model, I think we have various types of, say, constructs, various types of variables, perceived usefulness, perceived ease of use, subjective norms, perceived behavioral control, and many more such things. Until the time we are in a position to find all these variables intact and helpful to whom? To the online learners, I think it will be difficult to bring the online learners really into the classroom and make them to learn online. Because our experiments that we have done during this COVID-19, these 2-3 months, when we went in for delivering our courses or our lectures online, we could see that the attention on the part of the student was very, very poor. And when it went over there to the examination and we did any type of online examination, I think over there also the attempt was not up to the mark. So I think it is going to take some time. I am also thankful to the chief guest, Professor M.P. Gupta, my colleague, my friend from IIT Delhi, who really has basically given words of wisdom in terms of acknowledging and putting it on record that as on date, I think offline learning is always better. And we can always think in terms of online learning as a complementary or as a supplementary tool of education. Now, friends, these were my vote of thanks to all those, say, people who spoke out over here. But I'm also thankful to Dr. Kshitij, who is the webinar secretary and very dear to me, and a young chap. I could see such a wonderful energy in him. I'm really thankful to you who basically motivated us. It was Dr. Kshitij only who motivated us, Guru Gobind Singh Indraprastha University, to organize this international, say, webinar in collaboration, and willingly we accepted it. I'm really thankful to you, Dr. Kshitij. Now, I have got some names also forwarded by Dr. Kshitij, who has said that there are certain people who have worked very, very hard, friends, and my thanks are due to them also. One is Ms. Swati Vashisht, who is a webinar director. I really thank you for all the pains what you have taken for organizing this webinar. I'm also thankful to the joint secretaries, which are Engineer Ramesh Prasad Verma and Engineer Mudit Chaturvedi, who also has played a very important role in making this webinar a success. I'm also thankful to all the participants, friend, who had spared their time. And I think without these participants, this international webinar would have been meaningless. So I'm really thankful to all these participants. And my thanks are always due to all the support staff who basically has worked very hard for these 2 days to make this webinar really a success. I do not know to what extent this webinar has become a success, because it is the participants who have given us the feedback, and to rate this webinar on a 5-point scale, that where we stand on this particular webinar. So I think with this, we may now hand over the mic to Dr. Kshitij to take on this webinar further with the question answers. But my thanks are always there to Dr. C.B. Sharma, and I'm always thankful to all the participants and all the speakers of this particular webinar. Thank you once again, friends.
Thank you, Professor Mittal, sir, for your warm words of appreciation and gratitude. Now, we'll make the house open for question-answer session. I hand over the control to Professor Krishna Pal Goyal, sir, with a request to coordinate the same. And one more request, yesterday also, Khalid Azam, sir, I mean, he is very, very patient person, so we'll take him at first. First question from Mohammad Khalid Azam, sir. Please go ahead.
Thank you, sir. My question is basically related with a very pertinent aspect. Now, for the last 2 days, we have been talking about the online mode of teaching, learning. Today, I was really happy to see the the comments and the presentation made by Professor from Malaysia, Professor Marthandan, where he has given a very detailed aspect how to train the trainers. And I was really happy to see that. My question is at the end of this particular program, that see, we are having different mode of education, and we are having different type of universities in India. Some are public universities run by the government, some are private universities. We are having the other mode, which is the distance mode of learning. We are having the correspondence courses. We are having part-time courses. We are having open university system and the regular system, whatever with which we are attached. My question is that, okay, all these systems, they are basically meant for providing education, learning to those who are interested in it. And in case of management courses, as Professor Mittal has already said, the placement is the most important factor. My question is, with the panel members, anyone can give that answer, that the perception and the mindset of the selectors, do you think that they will be going equally well with online learning and whatever we are having in the traditional mode of learning? Our mindset is that the traditional mode of learning, that is much better as compared to the distance mode, online mode, correspondence courses. The people sitting in the Dhalpur house, will they recognize that this online learning or the distance mode of learning and all these the students coming from
Thank you, sir. We understand your question.
So that is the question, sir.
Yeah, I request Professor Govindan will answer.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, please. Welcome. Sir, please unmute yourself.
Okay.
Govindan, sir, please unmute. Yes, please.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So your question is very valid, Professor. So we have different kinds of or modes of teaching and learning. So all these things are in Malaysia also. We have the Open University, we have the part-time program, we have the distance learning, we have the private university, we have the public university. Everything is there. But in all the universities, my multimedia university is a private university. So for the past 2 trimesters, we have a trimester system. For the past 2 trimesters, we are fully online. All our undergraduates, postgraduate, everything is online. No student is there. Even today, there is no student in our campus. Students are not allowed. We already finished 1 trimester. Distance learning, open learning, MBA part-time, executive MBA part-time, MBA, executive MBA full-time, and all undergraduate engineering degrees accounting degrees or professional certified body, everything we have done online only. Only for the professional certification, the accounting and all that, they wanted online examination. So that too, within a given time frame, so the students were asked to be online. So and then the invigilators were there to invigilate the examination. But for all other programs, we have conducted online examination. So we gave them more time. So we call them take-home examination. So we gave them the question paper one day in advance. We gave them 24 hours to answer. But the questions are not similar to what we are asking in the normal examination mode. So it is most of the time it is the application of the theory that we taught. So it's not that they can just copy and then they can paste it. So they have to really think over and then decide. But not all the students, even after the 2 semesters, our experience is not all the students got A. So there are C still, then 1 or 2 students failed also. Even we give more than 24 hours for them to answer, not all of them are doing very well. So it is there, whether it is online or whether it is offline, that kind of disparity will be there. So, but we are here, all the public universities, now they are already in the mode of converting all their programs by 2022 or 23. So they will be converting all the programs into online mode. They will have an offline mode program as well as online mode programs. This is only to cater to the students outside Malaysia. Like Malaysia is not having a bigger population. So if you want to extend your program to other things, so you have to go online. So that is there. So online will work. But in India, it may take some time because of the infrastructural things. But the students, I don't think that the students are a problem, these things. So students are there. Not even one student is there without a Facebook account, with a Twitter account and all that. So they are all in the social media. So getting them into online education will not be a problem from the students' perspective, but from the lecturers' perspective and as well as from the infrastructure perspective, it may take some time. That's what I personally feel.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Just a moment.
Govindan, sir.
Goel, sir, just a moment. Kshitij Maheshi this side. Herein, I would like to acknowledge one fact, what Professor Govindan just said. I want to add some value to it. See, MMU, Multimedia University of Malaysia, is the first ever full-fledged private university in Malaysia. And it's a big university. It could be compared to BHU in India, but Pandit Madan Mohan Malviya, sir, I mean, he established BHU as the first, amongst the first private universities of India was BHU. And there in Malaysia, it is MMU. Sir, we are proud of this fact, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Kshitij. And thank you, Professor Martandan A, for a nice presentation and taking the question so nicely. I was looking so many compliments in the chat box for your speech. Of course, for everyone, but Professor Rebecca has also complimented you on the chat box. Yeah, now the next question, next is from Professor Dr. Narendra Singh. Is there on Dr. Narendra Singh? Next is Ketan Veera. Is there?
Yeah. Good evening,
Please
sir.
unmute yourself.
I have unmuted. Good evening, sir. Can you hear me?
Yes, please. You are very much audible.
Yeah. At the outset, thank you for a very wonderful webinar. All the speakers were excellent. My question is to any of the panelists. We have been talking about online teaching, online evaluation, online assignment. What about mentoring? How to make mentoring effective online? Because when we talk about the holistic development of the student, mentoring plays a very important role. So anyone can answer my question from the panel.
Professor Rebecca will.
I'll jump in
Professor
here.
Rebecca, please unmute yourself. His question is relating to mentoring. Of course, online and offline is there.
Yeah, so this is something that I try very hard to do, and it is a different challenge in doing it in the online context. At least in my experience, it very much is led by the professor to get it started, so that the students recognize that you're willing to be a mentor and to take on that opportunity to connect on the individual level. And so I mentioned my personal branding exercise that I have students do. Honestly, I do that very strategically at the beginning of the semester so that I can get to know the different students in a way that I know how to connect to them, because it helps me understand their aspirations to initiate a dialogue for that. For me, the mentoring takes place, I sort of reach out via email with a customized message to those students. And then they're able to reply, come to, we do virtual office hours where they can connect online. We can have that face-to-face virtual meeting, and to let them know about how I'm willing to be a connection, which when we do the LinkedIn project, I say, scour my network, look for connections at a company where you'd like to be. And I find that mutual connection, I'll help you set up a conversation. So I think there are lots of different ways to be a mentor, whether it's personal or professional. And it's, I will say for me, it is more challenging to initiate in that online environment because I want to make sure I'm not pressuring a student to feel like they have to talk to their professor more. But I think when you open that door, it's pretty easy to tell which students are gravitating towards that. I want to keep this brief, but one other piece that helps with mentoring, if you are a professor who offers a mid-semester feedback opportunity, like sending out a survey to see how the course is going for your students, there's a place where you could add a question. There's an opportunity there. You know, what are ways that I could be mentoring you on a more individual level or catering this class towards your needs? And that helps you feel out. And you say, if this is you, you know, please let me know, you know, you can kind of do that in a way that makes it so you can identify them if they want to be identified. And that can open a door for that kind of a conversation as well, to helping you know, like, or them to know you're willing, but you to know which ones want that. So I hope that was a helpful response. It's, you know, very much a customized approach, though.
Yeah, thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Can I add one more
sir.
thing? So in our university, we have a system called academic advisory system. So this is compulsory for all the professors, for all the lecturers. So before the semester starts, so each academician will get some students. The system will automatically allocate. It will not be from our class, it may be from some other program also. So in the academic advisory system, what we do is we have to mentor the students. So whether it is a personal problem or the academic problem or any other problem, they will talk. So we will have a separate group for them. So they will individually, they can talk. So we can have a WhatsApp system also. But that is the whole semester they have to talk. Unless they talk to us, unless we give them the clearance, they cannot register subject for the next semester. So that there is a condition for that also. So academic advisory system works very well in our.
Thank you, sir. Really, it's a system, but it's more successful in face-to-face. Although in online, it can happen, but it's more successful. Thank you, Govindan sir, and thank you, Rebecca ma'am. You have given so wonderful concepts, so many concepts about education. Next one is, I'm looking the raise hand option, Narendra Singh. Dr. Narendra Singh is there. Please unmute yourself, Dr. Narendra Singh. Ketan, Mr. Ketan. Those who want
sir,
have questions.
I am done, sir. I am done with my question. Rebecca ma'am and sir answered my question.
Okay. Vikas Rao is there?
Yes, please. Very good evening, one and all. Am I audible?
Yes, you are very much audible. Please continue.
First of all, I would like to thank all the experts for such a wonderful talk. It may be a question, it may be a scenario that what will happen in India if we are recognizing this online education as a regular education. What will be the difference between distance education and regular education? Wherein today, distance education, we don't recognize much. So once we go with online mode, what will be the difference between these two, and how these two students will be differentiated between regular and this distance education? I have another question. Anybody can talk. Anybody can answer, please.
In my university, we have the distance learning also, a regular course. But when the certificate is given, so we don't mention that it is from the distance education. We give BBA management, that's all. Whether they are from the full-time or from the part-time or the distance education, we give the same certificate. So, but me also, when you go for government employment, they look for this, whether you have done a regular stream or part-time stream and all that. But when you go to a private firm, they are not very much interested whether you do it on a full-time basis or a part-time basis or a open. As long as you can answer them, as long as they find you capable of, they recruit you. But in a government, yes, there are certain rules that you have to follow that. But in Malaysia, that rule is not there even in government. So government, they say they are not. Primarily, that program has to be accredited. So like the accreditation body in Malaysia, they accredit the distance learning, open distance learning, and as well as regular programs. So as long as the program is accredited, so there is no bar. Even the multinational companies, they straight away take it. They want only the accreditation for the program. That's it.
Sir, I need your comment on this. Just a minute. If multinationals, they are recognizing this distance education, why not this government sector, they are recognizing it? Because ultimately, knowledge is the key.
Yeah. That I may not be able to answer.
Govindan sir, please will answer ye, will pose your question ye. We can give chance to ask question to others ye. One can ask one question, so will more participants will have a question ye. And if any query is remaining, you can post us. Will give this post this particular mail to the expert, and expert will reply you.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you.
You can type your email ID on the chat box, and we will certainly reply your question. Anyone else is having question? Please. I think Vikas Rao is completed. Anyone else? It's already of Mr. Khalid Ajamich.
Yes.
I think you have already finished, sir. Anyone else? So, okay, your question can be taken up here. This is the last one here. You have a second question also. I think Mr. Vikas Rao is there. You please repeat your question and we'll answer. And this will be the last question.
Okay. My question is still the same one.
Yes,
and it is in the continuation with that. The perception of the job givers about the different mode of learning to the students. That is not going to change. Unless it is not going to change, the benefit will not be going to the students. That is the basic problem which we will be facing. And you will find that after 1 or 2 years, the job givers will say that, okay, you have passed into a 2020. That means your degree is coveted. So that will be a problem for those students who will be passing this year, because the perception of the job givers, I don't think that is going to change. So that is my question related to
I understand
how to deal with this and how to handle that.
Yeah, if panel permit, I should answer each question.
Yes, I think that anyone can answer, anyone who is having some idea about that, what to do according to it.
Your question is very pertinent in given circumstances or situation. But this is a situation not only in India, this is throughout. And the companies do not evaluate a employee on the basis of the final year performance. They evaluate on the gradual performance. So we are not recruiting a person to opportunity. Of course, certain areas there are chances are less. So employer means students and employer. Both are suffering in that particular period. So this is a crisis period, and there can be no absolute answer for this.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you.
And relative importance, the people will get selection and recruitment.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for giving me the chance second time. Thank you, sir.
Thank you all for listening us and for in this webinar from continuously from 3 hours. We are it's about to 9, and thanks to all the experts on the panel.
I have one last question.
Given their best to explain the concept. And
Goyal sir, we can take two more questions now. Last two more questions. There's a person.
Hello?
Dr. Ravi.
Hello?
I think anyone have question here? Is there any question?
I have one question. Can I please ask that?
Yes.
Hello?
Please.
Yeah.
Please introduce
Sir,
yourself.
am I audible?
Yes, you are very much audible, sir.
I am Raghavendran. I teach physics. I am from Bangalore. I have a basic question, sir. Sir, this brick and mortar model has been successful for ages now, and so much investment has been made in it. Now, education is not just about academics and skill. It includes sports, cultural activity, most importantly, socializing as well. So how do we address these issues? More importantly, are we actually overreacting? As if we will never go back to the old model at all. In the end, probably a blend of both offline and online would be the solution. Your comments?
Yeah, it's really a wonderful question and wonderful thought which you have presented. If I have the answer, if any expert would like to comment first. Yes, please.
I'll jump in here. So I certainly don't have all the answers to that very complex question that defines the culture of learning in a university setting in 2020. However, this is something we are all questioning. So, I think we're all on the same page of wondering about that. And I love your final question. Are we overreacting? And maybe we are to a degree, but as the previous question posed, we have to make sure these graduates are market ready, right? That they are prepared for those jobs in the best way that we can under the current conditions. So my argument to that would be that we have to recreate that. When I was talking about course design during my presentation, I was talking about a backwards design to that experience. And so that's saying, what are these outcomes we desire? Given the constraints we're operating in, how do we get to that? Not saying, okay, here's what we're used to. How do we flip this to an online context? Because that model doesn't work. It seems easier and less effort to do, but it doesn't produce the same results. And so certainly, I don't know what to do about sports. I have no idea about the athletic side of this. But related to the classroom experience, I do believe if we really cultivate engaging pedagogy, like the presentation after mine gave great examples and resources of, how to build that out, that we can do opportunities for students to work individually if they have technology constraints, but on some projects to pick a partner to work out with. And then they get that social interaction during some classes. So I think that if we get creative, there are ways to help within our own platform within the university to build those opportunities for the additional levels of engagement. And, like the reverse career fair I mentioned, all of our recruiting this semester will be online. And I'm willing to bet that companies are going to adapt and go, wow, we saved a lot of money not traveling, and we still got good hires. And it's going to shift the whole way of thinking for so many. We're teaching our students vital skills when we show them how to adapt and be nimble into this electronic world. That's just my perspective to that question. I hope that's helpful.
Your question is, thank you, ma'am, Rubika ma'am. Your question is debatable. I think the whole discussions which we did today is your question. And we could not come to conclude here because it will remain both, because it have both the sides. Bricks and Professor Subair, would you like to throw some light on this issue? His question is like brick and mortar system, the earlier face-to-face education system in which play schools and sports and games and everything was associated with education. And now we are moving towards this online education and virtual classes and all these. So what is your opinion regarding this? Professor Subair?
I feel that, thank you so much. I believe sincerely that the only way forward, because I'm always thinking of my country first in everything because the issue is that take for instance, in most times, whenever examination is approaching like that, apart from mentoring them online and giving them the study materials, they are expected to come for review towards the examination time in face-to-face model. So that it is not a matter of maybe they are not carried along, or probably the student-lecturer relationship is not there. And perhaps that tends to encourage them more. More than just leaving them online, everything online. You discover that you have to look at the peculiarity of your country and the social condition of the country before you can easily get the learners along with you. So it has been discovered that even if they continue, sometimes they talk to you on phone, they chat with you through the WhatsApp, or sometimes, the conventional virtual class is not really existing in Nigeria, except that you just prepare the PowerPoint and you send it to them. So the only way that you can always get the online education improved is to make sure that the blended, type or module is encouraged, so that it gives them that sense of reasoning that they also belong to the four walls of the university, not that they are just outside there, they got the certificate, and at the end of the day, in fact, they are even biased. That kind of biasness will not be against them again. So that's just my submission. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Subair. Thank you for participating and delivering a lecture. Professor Subair, I would like to put on record my personal thanks also for being with us in this international webinar. I met Professor Subair in 2006 in USA, and we lived together for 2-3 days during one international conference. And it's nice, Professor Subair is a nice human being. He's connected since long, means 2006 today, 14 years back we met.
Thank you so much.
So thank you, Professor Subair. And I think, sir, you might have got your answer. Your question is very much relevant now, but everyone, I think every speaker has concluded. Our expert, Professor Mittal and Professor Govindan, everything is like a bricks and mortar system, face-to-face education system can never be substituted completely to the online. It is must, it is required for the overall personality development. But in a given situation, of course, a little component of online education is must. This is a need of the hour. We are not substituting it. This is the need of the hour. That's why, because there is no substitute, no other option we have. So this is the option which we have to adopt.
Okay, then now we'll take up the last question from Mohammad Khalid Azam. Kindly, ask your question, sir. Unmute yourself and ask the question. Last question.
See, I have asked question. 2 questions I have already asked. My last question is related with.
Sorry, I disconnected. Yeah.
Okay. Sorry.
So, is there any other question, or Dr. Kshitij, we should?
Yes, sir. The last question is being taken up.
Hello. Mr. Kshitij.
Hello.
Yes, sir.
My question should go.
Yes, sir.
Hello.
Azam, sir, please ask your question.
Okay. My question is that most of our students, what we find here in India, they are not knowledge seekers. I am sorry to say. They are generally interested in achieving the grade. They are the grade achievers. Then in that case, how to motivate these people on online mode, or in case of distance mode, to bring to this particular level so that they will be equally good for the purpose of job. That is the basic thing which I am considering in this case. Anyone can react on this.
You are talking about, I think, Indian scenario here.
Yes, because most of them are they are grade achievers. They are not knowledge seekers.
So
in that case, to motivate them is a very typical situation. So providing motivation for gaining knowledge, how that can be done with the help of online for some time, whatever we are facing nowadays. That is my question. And that is my last question. So
I must answer your question because this is geographically
okay. Yes.
located question. You are talking about India. Other speakers are on the panel are from USA, Malaysia, and Nigeria. So in brief, I say, of course, you are right, but not completely right, sir.
Okay.
any of the students are of grade seekers. But at the other side, a few excellent students are not only for the grade, they are devoting their full. That's why we are best in the world. In the technology, in science, we are the best. In management, we are the best. Indian students. We are talking about Indian students. And I'm also talking about Indian students. So most of the, maybe many students, maybe whatever you are talking about, whatever you are discussing about, but few exceptional students are there. And our Indian education system is based on those students. IIMs, IITs, and other best institutions, many students are doing best in India. So be positive, be optimistic. They are doing best in the world as far as this Indian education system is concerned. So don't worry, whatever is. And for whom those seeking grades, they are doing their own job. They are entrepreneurs. They are going in other fields or they are doing better in other sides. So I think India has a brighter side as far as education system is concerned.
Thank you,
This
sir.
is my
Thank you.
personal-
No, that
Be
your
optimistic.
perspective is all right. That is
Of
there.
course, there are grade seekers. I agree. There can be 90% can be or 95% can be or 99% can be grade seeker. But those 1% are excellent students
They are really
and
excellent.
we are based on those.
Yes, they are really excellent. That's why they are sustaining in the world. They are doing that job.
Scenario is
Thank
not
you, sir.
only
Thank you
India,
very much.
this scenario is throughout the globe.
Yes.
Anyone else, sir? Please, any other question?
Hello.
Yes, please.
Hello, sir.
Yeah, please mention your name and ask your question in brief.
Sir, my name is Dr. Durga Prasad.
Yes, please.
Yeah, from Usmania University, Telangana State.
Yes, sir.
Sir, this is excellent webinar and congratulations, sir. And it is very informative. And my question is, sir, how we are going to concentrate on the rural students on online education? How can we mentor the rural students, sir? Please, anybody.
Professor Govindan will answer. I have the answer, but if anyone on the panel would like to.
It is also a geographical question, so you can answer, sir.
Yes,
Thank
sir.
you.
I should. Of course, basically, as far as our Indian system or Indian environment is concerned, yesterday I was discussing it. Rural connectivity is a problem in India, basically, because they do not have a good bandwidth or good speed for internet. Even many people do not have connection with mobile or good connectivity. So online is a problem for India. Earlier, we didn't think so seriously about online. We ventured in online education nowadays, means due to this COVID. Otherwise, we are not venturing and we are not thinking of. That's why we are facing a lot of problems in conducting examinations and all these. So up to and until our infrastructure will be so stronger, government is putting efforts and government has to look after nowadays, because this, of course, this problem will not repeat again. But to overcome this problem, technology is the only mode, and still we don't have the option for rural population particularly. Urban areas we have a good connectivity, but now this Reliance Jio and many connections are coming over. We hope for a bright future. And in coming time, the good technology will come up and good connectivity will be there. But nowadays, certainly in India, nowadays we are facing a difficult problem. And this is the only problem. We are not in a position to apply this online system uniformly. Particularly in my university, I belong to a state university. I am working in a Jayanara and Vyas State University, Jodhpur.
Jodhpur.
And it is the second largest university in Rajasthan. We face this problem, how to conduct the examination, how to evaluate the students. Because we have a mix of rural students as well as urban students. If we are connected with only urban students, there is a no problem or no issue. We can apply the technology. But the only issue is how to conduct and how to communicate those who are who are in rural areas. They have real problem. They do not have proper connectivity. Even it is very difficult to connect them telephonically. Internet is the big question here. So your question is there, and this is a problem, of course. I am sure in coming time we will resolve this problem also with the help of government, and infrastructure will keep improve. During 4-5 years, we have a tremendous increase or tremendous improvement in the infrastructure, connectivity, mobiles, virtual system and smartphones here. Earlier it was like a dream. Now even a tea seller is using a smartphone. So slowly, gradually, we are improving, and coming time we'll see. But nowadays this is a problem.
I want to add one more thing.
Thank you.
So online education does not necessarily mean only the www. So in Tamil Nadu, in one of the states in India, they teach through television. Like, so there were specific times for a specific subject for a specific class. So students have to just, because in rural areas also the TV is there. But
Yes, sir.
Two-way communication, it is a one-way communication. We may not have the interaction. So it is only the lecturer giving the material, the students has to learn. The examination, they are thinking that, okay, let when the examination come, they will decide. But now, the dissemination of knowledge is through the television.
Even at the central level also this is happening. We have many channels, education channels, and they are delivering. But it's not like particular group based education. It is a common. So this can be one way, but this is not a complete solution and a complete answer of your question. But of course,
solution, but
Professor
better than
Martin has rightly added the things here. This can be one way of improving.
Because I know IGNOU has started this television course as early as in 1992. So, from the 1992, IGNOU has started teaching through television. I'm not aware of it.
So with this,
thank you, sir. Thank you
once again for nice deliberations and nice discussions, questions. Thanks to all panel members, experts, Professor Govindan, Professor Rebuka, Professor Subair, Professor Dr. C.B. Sharma Sahab, and all the panel other members, participants from my own behalf. Now this system is over to Dr. Kshitij. Dr. Kshitij, please. So with this, we come to conclude and come to the end of this today's webinar. As I mentioned yesterday, webinar never come to an end. This is the discussion which keeps on going on. We can connect it through email and through other medias, LinkedIn, and so many mode of connection is there. So we continue our discussions here. I'm sorry if I could not give chance to ask questions to too many participants. But of course, they can continue. They can ask their questions through email, and email will be available on our group here. I will give you my email as well as the email of others. So
Yes,
thank
sir.
you all.
Professor Goyal, sir, just one last request. We'll conclude this with a note that there's a suggestion coming out from a very renowned person, world-renowned Vastu, Dhanidhar Sharma, sir. He's also giving an input. The answer of giving weightage to online educated degrees in employment, every change in the system goes through 4 phases: ridicule, resistance, acceptance, and finally appreciation. Hence, online education system is now entering 3rd phase, which will take a little long time before being appreciated. Even he has contributed. So, the participants, of high standard, even they are contributing to the answer section. Thank you so much. All right. So, Dr. C.B. Sharma, sir, can you conclude now?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you all.
You are not audible.
Goyal, sir, would you like to say something, your email address or something?
I post my email on chat box and on group also. My email ID is kagoyala@gmail.com. Anyone can post any question to me, and if anyone asks any question from any expert, that can be passed on to the experts also. So you can pass on your query to me. My website also, there is an address, kagoyalforexcellence.com. kagoyalforexcellence.com. So anywhere, if you forget the email ID, you can check everything on my website. and you can post your question. Certainly will answer whatever your question or whatever the problems you have. You can add value to the discussions which we had today, whatever the good ideas you have. And thank you, Dr. Kshitij, and the organizers for taking up such a vibrant and such a required topic in this current scenario, online education challenges and opportunity. Particularly, Dr. Kshitij is expert. He is visiting professor in IIT, and I'm lucky enough to have Dr. Kshitij as my colleague in my own university, Jain Narayan Vyas University. So he is so intelligent and intellectual. Many things I learned from Dr. Kshitij, and he's having a tremendous organizing capacities. So thank you, Dr. Kshitij, for giving me this opportunity. Thank you, Professor Govindan, for accepting our invitation.
Sir, you are the sun, I am the moon. The light I get is from you only, sir, from my senior colleague.
So, thank you, Doctor. And I think we can now wind up this today's session. And of course, informally, we can continue longer.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you all.
Thank you, Professor Rizika, ma'am, for nice discussion and sharing your.
Thank you.
Thank
you very much, sir. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
God bless you.
So kind of you for taking up the questions and answers.
Thank you, everyone, all present on the